What's popping, y'all? Let's get to it. You know, I'm on the screen now. You know, we doing shit without phones. The phones now, you know. We big dogging it over here. So the show gonna be better than it was last night. You know, we got a little warm up before we get into Hunter, you know. The real intervention episode, you know.
Listen, paying $14.99 a month for a streaming app and $9.99 a month for a music app and $12.99 for a fitness app and more money for a bunch of
but there's one major.
It's become a hub for illicit activities,
Sexual assault and stop human.
I don't know how many of y'all know about this right here, but I'm just gonna give y'all a little bit of doses. I want to show y'all, you know, what I'm trying to make the show about. You know how it's gonna flow over here. It's not no certain topics that we gonna stick to. Only whatever is, you know, I feel is important. You know, mind blowing, shocking. Some shit we can talk about. You know, talk big boy shit over here. You know, not just, you know, talking about motherfuckers is broke and bald headed and, you know, who cheating with who. You know. We're going to get into some real shit over here. So, without further ado, let's go.
Trafficking gangs. Human trafficking is big business. It generates about $150 billion a year globally in illegal profits.
Let me let y'all know what we talking about, first of all, before I just let it go like that. A lot of y'all might not know, but a lot of the hotels in this country are being sued right now because they have been aiding and a part of human trafficking. So I'm not talking about like, you know, Super 8 motels. I'm talking about the Marriotts and shit, like the real shit. So that's what we have to get into right now. You know, without saying, when you see some shit that's crazy, talk your shit in the comments, in the live and on the replay, you know, talk your shit. Let me know that you feeling how crazy this shit is, what's going on right in front of our faces and shit, right underneath our noses, while we over here, you know, focused about a whole bunch of ratchet shit.
Stop human trafficking gangs. Human trafficking is big business. It generates about $150 billion a year globally in illegal profits. Traffickers exploit a number of companies to carry out their deeds, banks to launder money, planes to transport victims, and social media platforms to lure prospects. But there's one major sector where traffickers tend to hide in plain sight: hotels.
We know that sex trafficking takes place in hotels and hotel rooms. We also know that individuals working at hotels can be in situations of forced labor, and labor trafficking can take place at any point in a hotel's supply chain.
Human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. In the U.S., there were more than 10,000 reported cases of human trafficking in 2020, and 72% were related to sex trafficking. Large events like the Super Bowl are thought to bring a spike in sex trafficking to a high influx of visitors. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated this issue. Criminals are able to abuse new hotel technology like contactless check-in, making it more difficult to spot signs of trafficking. All the while, waves of sex trafficking lawsuits continue to pile up against hotel chains.
Now, what we also saw during the pandemic was really a confirmation that trafficking is possible and profitable in the United States because there are systemic inequities and injustices that the pandemic really highlighted.
With the impact of COVID-19, civil lawsuits, and increased awareness, what are the major hotel chains doing to curb human trafficking? Hotels and motels are some of the most common venues for sex trafficking. Traffickers generally use the rooms for commercial sex, and the ability to pay in cash provides a sense of secrecy through finances. It's estimated that commercial sexual exploitation generates about $99 billion in illegal profits globally. These activities are unbeknownst to hotel management, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. But Nikki Vestal, sex trafficking says hotel staff are sometimes in on it.
Most traffickers on that scale, they always have a set location where they work. They always pick a hotel where they work because it's comfortable for them. They know the people at the front desk. You know, the people at the front desk know what's going on. So, you know, for them to say, "Oh, we don't know what's going on," if you see the same individual and these same girls come every day, you know what's going on.
In 2000, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, or TVPA, was the first bill enacted to monitor, prevent, and criminalize trafficking. It also penalizes private entities that enable or are complicit with the illegal act. This law was a pivotal moment for survivors. Since then, major hotel brands, as well as smaller motels, have been sued for negligence, profiting from, and even promoting sex trafficking. Experts believe.
I want to know how many of y'all knew that this was going on. Who knew in this country that motherfuckers was suing the hotels because the hotels is fucking human trafficking, yo? While motherfuckers is talking about Trump, all these RICO acts, hip hop, and all this other goofy ass shit on social media and on these motherfucking internets, this is what the fuck is going on. The type of shit that we watching tonight. You know what I'm saying? This shit right here is bananas. If you got kids and you go on vacations, go to motherfucking Disney, you know, take your family out of town, all that shit, your kid could come up missing and you ain't never took your eyes off your fucking kid. That shit is crazy.
Risa Retrio filed the first ever civil claim against a motel or hotel for its role in human trafficking in 2015. The case was settled, and with it, hundreds of other victims have come forward with lawsuits. In 2019, 257 defendants were sued for sex trafficking, and 117 of the defendants were hotels, more than the 4 years prior combined. In 2020, 149 defendants were sued for sex trafficking, and nearly half were hotels. The hotels accused more frequently were Motel 6, Super 8 Motel, Days Inn, Red Roof Inn, and La Quinta.
The low-scale motels, they know what's going on. If you have a hotel where you have porn, where you can go in and there's a channel, you click a channel, you turn the TV on, porn's on the TV, that's a red flag right there.
Although they made up a smaller portion of cases, big-name hotel companies took the top headlines that year. In 2019, 6 major hotels, including Marriott, Wyndham, and Hilton, were sued by a woman for allegedly turning a blind eye to signs of trafficking in their franchised hotels to continue earning a profit. The defendants contend that they did not knowingly benefit financially from the plaintiff's sex trafficking venture. In the same month, 3 sex trafficking victims sued 3 major hotel chains in Houston for gross negligence. The U.S. Department of State estimates that there are 24.9 million trafficking victims worldwide at any given time. Human traffickers prey on adults and children of all ages and backgrounds, exploiting them for their own profit. People who come from systemically and historically marginalized groups are more likely to be targeted.
Especially when it comes to labor trafficking of guest workers in the U.S. who are in the U.S. on temporary guest work visas are very often targeted by traffickers, often because there are certain loopholes in that system that traffickers are exploiting. On the sex trafficking side, we absolutely see greater risk with LGBTQ youth, especially runaway and homeless youth, as well as Black and brown girls and women in Indigenous communities as well. Now, communities who have, again, experienced historic discrimination and all of the rippling effects from that.
It's been long believed that large events like Mardi Gras, the Olympics, and the lead to an influx of sex trafficking in the hotels of host cities. In 2021, the It's a Penalty campaign collaborated with other businesses, including Hilton Hotels, to educate, equip, and report.
All right, I just want to show y'all real quick, you know, what it might look like. Like, I want to show y'all, you know, I'm going to show y'all what it's going to look like how they doing this shit and everything. Real quick. Let's see. Let's see.
Purell Ultra Healing Lotion moisturizes better than the leading therapeutic lotion.
I already see.
Community leaders are honoring a front desk clerk at a local hotel for her courage in helping save a woman's life from sex trafficking.
Fox 9's Mary McGuire has more on the incredible act of bravery by both the worker and the victim.
Helping guests is a big part of the job for Eve Tao. It's mostly booking rooms and answering questions at the front desk of the Comfort Inn and Suites in Vadnais Heights. But last summer, the 22-year-old's attention and intuition helped save a woman's life.
He had turned his back away from the desk and she kind of slid the note to me.
On a morning in mid-July, a woman discreetly passed something.
To new details about the underground world of sex trafficking in Orlando. News 6's Treasure Roberts joins us now live. So, Treasure, you learned about the effort to stop these horrific crimes.
I did, and I actually spoke with a human trafficking survivor who says she became a victim at the age of 11 years old right here in Central Florida. She says human trafficking can happen in hotels, motels, and other types of lodging.
Did you know about
and she says help write legislation to help staff spot it and stop it. Trafficked at only 11 years old, Savannah Parview says no amount of healing will ever completely mask the trauma.
And her drug dealer offered her a $10 piece of crack for me instead of for her. And so she told him that that was fine. He could do whatever he wanted to me.
Parview says it was her mom who first sold her off just to get a fix.
It was probably Hunter Biden offering the crack, you know? You gonna let that nigga out in the streets, you know? He always want to offer somebody some crack. I want to show y'all the tunnels real quick. Because I wasn't even planning to stay on here this long. I was just going to show y'all real quick. But, let's see.
I was cleaning rooms just like any other day.
One of our housekeepers, Angie, had witnessed and seen some odd things going on in her room.
You start to notice who's coming up and down your hallways.
You have someone checking in and someone carrying a laundry basket full of clothes up to a room and a box full of things instead of typical luggage.
She was about anywhere from 17 to 19. She was like young. She was just like a kid sister.
Oh no, this was not a happy girl. She didn't want to be there.
They'd be in there for a little while with her, and then after that they left, and the first guy showed up.
It doesn't look like a normal relationship. A young woman with an older gentleman.
And within a 3-hour period, there were at least 2 to 3 men that went in to visit her to have their services taken care of.
We had been assuming for many years that prostitution and things are kind of a joke, and we joked about the person being in the room for a couple hours.
The children can often be sold more frequently out.
We try to take the blinders off so that they understand that the majority of people in prostitution do not want to be in prostitution, that a lot of...
All right, I had enough. Let me show y'all this right quick so we can go to the next thing. I'm going to tell y'all real quick what we're going to while I'm going to it. The next thing I'm going to show y'all is a real quick update about Pastor P from Bigo. I showed y'all yesterday that he had got hit on his motorcycle while he was on live. And I found some real crazy info out today. And so I'm gonna show y'all that. And then I'm gonna give y'all update about his situation and everything. All right, check this out, y'all. I just wanted to show y'all the hotels and shit.
Like the person filming this video was staying at this hotel, and you won't believe what they ended up finding inside of their hotel room. He opened up this closet, and there seemed to be a secret door inside of the closet, so he decided to open it up. There turned out to be this pretty decently sized hidden place, but there was actually one more door that he discovered, so he decided to open that as well. And there turned out to be another hidden room behind this door. I don't know about all of you, but if I was staying in that hotel and I found 2 hidden rooms, I just would want to be out of there. I'd be so uncomfortable, and I just wonder if that guy stayed there the whole night. The person filming this video was staying at this hotel, and you won't believe what they ended up finding inside of their hotel.
Because that's how all of the rooms
he
are.
opened
That's
up
how
this
all the
closet,
hotels
and
have
there
it.
seemed to be a secret door inside of the closet, so he decided to open it up.
Hold on. My bad. I'm talking over the video. I'm going to get better at this shit, y'all. My bad. I'm just happy to not be, you know, fucked up with the phone and shit. But yeah. The thing about it is that shit is crazy, but that's how all of these hotels are. But you don't know that shit. You just got to push on the right wall inside of a closet. You know what I mean? You got to push on the right part of the floor. But all of these shits is just a shell. You know what I'm saying? All of these shits is just a shell. You can be on the 5th floor and get outside the building without nobody seeing you. So like that Kanika Jenkins and stuff, all that, they can look at all the videos that they want to, and you're never going to be able to make shit match up because motherfuckers is moving in compartments and walls and underneath the floors and shit behind the shell. That shit is crazy, y'all. So listen, if y'all fucking with, you know, what I'm trying to do over here, the kind of shit I'm trying to show y'all, you know, I wasn't even intending to show y'all this much of that. I just wanted to let y'all know what was going on, so that I can dig a little bit deeper into it. But I just want to let y'all know this is the kind of stuff that, you know, I want to be talking about and I want to be showing, like the shit that, you know, is going on that nobody's talking about, that's happening right underneath our noses and stuff, you know. I'm going to show y'all real quick. I want y'all to go back and watch the video for real, but I'm going to show y'all real quick about Keith, Pastor P. This is Pastor P from Bigo. Like I said, he got into an accident. I'm going to show you a little bit of the backstory. Then I'm going to show you a little bit of his update that just came out. Breaking news right now. Breaking news. Pastor P update. And then we're going to get into the conclusion of motherfucking Hunter. And when I say the conclusion, that don't mean we close to the end. That nigga just getting started. So, you know, roll up, you know, get your drink on ice, you know, get comfortable and shit, situated and shit, because we going to be here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? We locked and loaded. Let's go.
Get up, King. Here, because I was telling life, you know what? That's what I was going looking in the room. Get up, King. Right here, it's right here. Right here. Get up, King. Let's go, King. Oh. Man, that's ugly. Oh, you went past me so fast. Please. Ooh. Breathe, bro. Breathe, bro. Come on, Keith. Don't stop. Breathe, bro. Don't stop. Man, y'all know Keith, man. Don't stop. Y'all know Keith, man. Keith just got hit, y'all. Keith, man. Y'all, Keith, man. Keith just got hit, man. He breathing. Damn, come on, Keith. Get up, Keith. He just got hit on his bike, man. Oh, man. Keith, man. Y'all know Keith. Come on, Keith. Get up, Keith.
You heard what he said, right? He said he just got hit on his bike, right? So this right here, I just learned about this shit today. This is Pastor P, Keith, who just got hit on his bike, getting into it with his brother. And I'm not going to say about what or nothing. I'm just going to let it play for a minute, and then I'm going to give you the update. Then we going into motherfucking Biden. Like I said, anytime you in Shrimp's house, when you see something crazy, please drop some shrimps in the motherfucking building. Please talk your shit in the building. You know, just let me know that you see the crazy shit that we all see, you know? Let's go. That's Pastor P. This is the one that just got hit. That's his brother talking. His blood brother. His older brother. Can you hear good?
Just replace the bike. sir. Yeah, that's what we trying to do. It just happened yesterday, Yolanda.
You can't replace the bike.
It worked out now.
Your money gone. You flat. In real life. In real life.
What we gonna do? We gonna replace this nigga's bike and see how he turned up then.
I'm live, y'all. I bought another bike.
And I'm not flat. The Morris stretching. I know you at home. Where else you gonna be?
Okay. You said translate. So what's going on is that Pastor bought a 3-wheel bike. He got it the day before. Long story short, he let his brother hold the bike. That's what they're talking about right now is the bike. So when Pastor is saying his brother's flat and all this kind of stuff, he's calling him broke and stuff like that. So that's the backstory. Now we're going to watch what happens for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to give you the update.
Let's get into it. Let me show y'all how to light shit up.
Bonkers.
Get the fuck out of here. My real name is on the screen. My name is Kevin Jones. Why you got the Morris stretching on here? I'm home. I'm home too. The home you said I don't have.
That ain't yours. You renting that. You just asked me to buy it, bitch. Let's get into it. That part. You just asked me to buy your house. Shut up.
I ain't got no money.
You is broke. The money you got on my clothes right now. Fuck is you talking about? You have on the clothes I bought. Fuck is you talking about? Right now, while you talking shit about me on live, bitch, you got on my clothes, nigga.
Right now, but I just had to say what I had to say to everybody.
You got on my clothes right now, bro. Right now.
This is weeks before Pastor's accident.
Now, today. What is you talking about? You broke, nigga.
Angie Jones, who cares if I only have 100 views? How many views did he get on his post? How many views did he got? Maybe 100 and some views on it. I don't know how many. Who cares? He put my face on. This is my face. This is the person who did it. I'm telling you why it was done. It didn't have anything to do with nothing that he talking about. This has everything to do with the fact that it was an accident, which normal people have all the time.
That's Kevin Jones, his brother.
Listen to him.
All the time. Bring up all this crazy. Y'all stupid. I don't know why y'all be. I put this on myself. This is my personal page. Period. I don't want to hear none of that crap. Go somewhere else. I don't know who you are. Go somewhere else. I ain't doing this for clout. I don't make no money for getting on live.
Tell him come on my shit so we can talk about it.
No, I ain't no sucker, and no, I ain't gonna let nobody, I don't care who it is, talk about my family. Flat out. And with that being said, Keith Jones, you know where I'm at. Keith Jones, Pastor Jones.
Good. Check him out. Check him out. Check him out. Look at the hate. Look at how he talked to me after he tear up my 11,000. This how he apologized.
I'm gonna get it straightened out.
He tore up 11,000. This how he apologized.
You could have called me and talked to
Boy, fuck you.
instead of talking
That
to
part.
females through your
Boy, fuck you. Call you for what?
It's done. You didn't have insurance on it when you left the place.
Look,
That's just
look,
it.
look,
You
look,
didn't have insurance on
look.
it at all anyway.
look. It's hate. That's hate. That's hate. That's hate. That's hate.
I got insurance.
That's hate. That's hate.
I don't need to hear nothing you got to say about nobody. Tell all your friends and your followers, do not follow me. I don't want your followers. I don't need your clout. I don't need you talking.
Look at the hate.
Nothing.
Look how he hate.
And yeah, I went live myself because
Look at the hate. He want to be famous. He want to be famous. Now I'm going to get into your future. And fuck your kids, bitch ass nigga. Let's start with that part. Because you said fuck them when you went to jail, bitch, and you ain't got them back. Don't tell me don't talk about your kids and you can't talk to your kids with your domestic violence ass. Right now on papers, bitch, 18 months over your head for beating your girlfriend all the way up, nigga. Let's talk about your 10,000 you got from income tax while you was sitting in jail, nigga, and your mama ain't give you a fucking coin. Who was taking care of your big 6'6" ass? Your little brother? Who put 200 on your books every week? Your little brother? Bitch, I got 7 years in the joint and you ain't gave me shit. Never. But you did take my car. You did steal all my music. You took 123 pair of Jordans. You took every pair of clothes I own, nigga. And you 6 inches taller than me. I took you shopping yesterday. Saturday, I took the bitch ass nigga shopping and put a bag in his pocket. Yeah, my motorcycle in your name, you hoe ass nigga. I bought it Saturday at 4 o'clock. Bitch, ain't nothing open to get no insurance on Sunday. But you will crash my shit and say, he should have had insurance like me. You got a 2000 goddamn Mustang. Your Mustang a 2000. You can't even get full coverage on that old ancient motherfucker. Bitch, you just had my car. You jealous bitch. Your transmission went out on that piece of shit. And you didn't have the money. You had to wait for Uncle Sam to give back what he took from you, nigga. You had to wait for Uncle Sam while you were sitting in jail, bitch. I gave him a whole car. When his transmission went out, I gave him a whole car. For the second time, your little brother gave you 2 cars, bitch. When it comes to a female, it's fuck you, nigga. My bitch come before my brother. You can always get $11,000. Listen to this bitch ass shit. Why you ain't never got it? You ain't never had 10,000. Let me see if I can get my other phone. Let me see that phone.
All right. Real quick, I'm just going to show y'all where Pastor was last time we seen him. Real quick, before I give y'all the update. I'm not going to show y'all the update. I'm going to just tell y'all real quick, and then we're going to get into the rest of Hunter, because Hunter shit is long. But this is the condition of Pastor after his accident. And this was exposed on Bigo, him in this condition. This is at his birthday, I believe. At his birthday party, they had him a birthday party on Bigo. I believe his mom was paid $15,000 to show his, how he looks right now on Bigo. And they showed him, and I don't know, how good any of you guys can see or what you guys know, but that blue and green thing that he's sitting on and laying on is called a Hoya pad. It's under him because he can't move or anything. So, he has to be moved. So that pad cradles his body, and then they use, a machine to lift him and move him and carry him and stuff like that. But this is him a couple of weeks ago, probably about 2 weeks ago at his birthday party.
A lot of other day, he always in my live playing me for keys.
They say he
Ghost really like me.
Can't speak.
But I told Ghost, bitch.
They say he can't walk, talk, and speak at this time. So today there was a update that his brother gave. His brother is not able to see him physically because of restraining order that he has against their mother. But he did announce today that Pastor did speak. Somebody else had announced it, a caretaker of his, but it's Bigo, so you don't know what you can believe and what not to believe. But his brother did confirm today that Pastor did speak. So that's some form of recovery, some form of getting better, because he was just in a vegetable state up until this point. So it doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't matter, if he just said cat or, I don't know, mouse. He may not, of course, be able to say much, but just the fact that he's even speaking, if that's true, is a miracle in itself. And the fact that he's even still here to be fighting. So for the Pastor P, congregation, supporters out there, I'm sure that's good news to y'all. For the people that, you know, got beef with him because of Bigo. I hope that y'all let that go at this point because, you know, shit ain't that fucking real. You know, if you seen all that shit and see his condition and how he looks and all that shit, if you still holding on to, you know, negativity and shit, like he already beat you and shit. Now that don't even got nothing to do with Bigo and shit. But let's get into motherfucking you know, Hunter right here. Let's go. The conclusion, and we're gonna be here a minute. If you didn't see part 1, please go back. Here's the boy of the hour, Hunter. Let's go. Dot, 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 dot. I hope y'all enjoying the content. This is some of my favorite. I don't know what can top Hunter. You know, it's gonna be a wild ride. So, you know, buckle up right here. I took it back just a touch, in case you know, didn't see yesterday, or, you know, just so we can remember where we were and get back into the groove of things. I took it back just a touch, but not far at all. This shit is about to be crazy right here. The gift that keeps on motherfucking giving. And all I want to know is, if this was us, what would happen to us? If we was doing all this shit that Hunter's out here doing, what the fuck would happen to us? You know what I'm saying? Papa Joe. That's all I can say. Papa motherfucking Joe. The last Joe we seen like this was Jackson. And Jackson ain't got nothing on Biden, boy. Not a dang thing. Not a goddamn thing.
In March of 2019, it was Joe Biden asking, "Where's Hunter?" He was ready to announce his third run for president, but Hunter was on a drug and sex binge up and down I-95. That's when he got a call from his mother, Jill. She asked him to come home, and he accepted the invitation.
I walked into the house, bright and homey as always, and immediately saw my 3 daughters. I knew then that something was up. A moment later, I spotted 2 counselors from a rehab center that I'd once gone to in Pennsylvania.
It was an intervention.
Not a chance, I said.
Oh, wait, let me take it back just a little bit. Just a little bit. Hold on. Let me take it back just a little bit.
Another true story. Hunter swore on a federal form that he wasn't a user.
Okay, we got to take it back just a little bit. Sorry.
Vice President's son.
My bad.
If you think that people don't already know everywhere.
My bad.
For night hotel suites and $12,000 at Larry Flint's husband.
Okay, here we go. Let's go.
Texts capture the horror the family felt. In November 2016, Hunter's sister Ashley scolded Hallie in a family group chat that included Joe and Jill.
You will pay for sitting around while watching my other brother kill himself. Everyone is talking about Hunter making scenes.
I thought I was in the perfect spot. Oh. Pardon me, y'all. I'm still straight motherfucking peeing. Pardon me. Like something, bitch. We getting there. When we get there, we gonna park it. So just relax. Kick your feet up. This ain't Netflix, motherfucker. This ain't Netflix. This ain't Hulu. When it's spinning like that, that's not me. I got y'all though. Here we go.
When Joe Biden announced he would not run for president in 2016, everyone assumed his long political career had come to an end. The question for Hunter Biden, who relied on leveraging his father's positions, was how would he fund his family obligations, high-flying lifestyle, and relentless addiction? As his father embarked on his last year as vice president, Hunter holed up in his D.C. apartment. He was an utter basket case.
Thank you, So. Y'all hit like.
He spent extravagantly on strip clubs, adult video sites, and prostitutes. Like a low-rent porn star, he frequently filmed his wild sex life and uploaded the footage to his Pornhub account.
I'm past the glow, I'm starting from head to toe. Y'all didn't notice, except like POTUS. And I said, oh,
But he claims he cleaned himself up whenever business called.
At the moment, you can do crack around the clock every day and still make your meetings sometimes, still return your calls sometimes, still pay your bills sometimes. It just is astounding. He was leaving meetings every 10, 15 minutes, smoking crack or doing some snorting coke or something in the middle of negotiating some of these deals.
One only wonders if influence seekers plied him with drugs. Hunter writes of trying to keep it together at a May 2016 Burisma board meeting in Monte Carlo, only to be offered cocaine in a nightclub bathroom he couldn't resist. Upon his return to D.C., he sought his old crack dealer, Bicycles, from his Georgetown days. She moved in and taught him the finer point of crack paraphernalia, a rose pipe, and chore boy steel wool. She stayed 5 months. They spent their days on the couch, smoking, quote, a ton of crack.
For endless hours, day after day, it was the same numbing ritual, over and over and over. Pipe, chore boy, crack, light, pipe, chore boy, crack, light.
In October 2016, Hunter resolved to fly to Arizona for rehab. But after missing 4 flights, smoking crack, he decided to drive.
I drove through the night, finally stopping in Nashville a few hours after sunrise. I checked into a hotel and smoked away the rest of the day. By nightfall, I realized I was already running low on drugs. I rummaged through my car seats and floor mats for crumbs, then drove off sometime around midnight to score more. By now, I possessed a new superpower, the ability to find crack in any town at any time, no matter how unfamiliar the terrain.
After 4 days of smoking crack in his Tennessee hotel room, he finally boarded a flight to Phoenix. He made it as far as his layover in LA, but again skipped his connecting flight to smoke crack. That binge lasted 6 days. At 4 a.m. on October 27, the sitting vice president's son finally headed out to Arizona in a rented Lincoln Town car. He almost didn't live to tell about it.
I nodded off behind the wheel. Waking up an instant later, I found myself in midair, the car having jumped a soft curve on the passing lane and soaring at 80 miles an hour into a cloudless blue sky, heading into the gulch that divided I-10.
He somehow made it to a nearby Hertz and got another car to drive the rest of the way.
He left a rental car that had drug residue in it, his brother Bo's attorney general badge on the dash, credit cards, identification. Nothing happens to him, though. He has close associates in the Secret Service who help take care of some of these issues.
Some of those close associates, Hunter once told a friend, were agents who owed a debt to his father.
Guy said he got their daughter into the Naval Academy, then had to the VP residence and let them use his apartment to stay and cost the White House. Guys he paid their health insurance premiums for anonymously. All those guys, they were made aware I was around. They were supposed to look out for me.
Rattled by his near-death experience, he summoned his brother's widow, Hallie, to be by his side. He tried to keep their relationship out of the papers, but the New York Post now had the story. Biden family affair, the headline said, but the relationship was far more sordid than that. The romance consisted of taking drugs, filming themselves having sex, then posting the videos to Hunter's online porn account.
Hunter would film their sex sessions and upload them to amateur porn sites such as Pornhub and give them titles such as Lonely Widow. There was a lot of love and, I guess, passion and lust there as well that they talked about, but it really was disastrous for everybody involved.
Texts capture the horror the family felt. In November 2016, Hunter's sister Ashley scolded Hallie in a family group chat that included Joe and Jill.
You will pay for sitting around while watching my other brother kill himself. Everyone is talking about Hunter making scenes at restaurants. People are worried. You are the problem. This isn't love. This is my brother. Hi.
Do you want me to come home? Do you want to use together? Not because you want me to come home.
I want to use regardless, but I would rather use with you and have sex with you all night. It was viewed with horror by people even within the family.
Nevertheless, Hunter asked his father to come out in support of the couple.
Hunter pleads with them to put out a statement saying that they approve of it so that it doesn't look worse than it already is.
Dad, I told him, if people find out but they think you're not approving of this, it makes it seem wrong. Kids have to know that there's nothing wrong with this. The one person who can tell them that is you.
A reluctant Joe complied.
We're all lucky that Hunter and Hallie found each other as they were putting their lives together again after such sadness. They have mine and Jill's full and complete support, and we are happy for them.
In time, the relationship grew nasty.
I think we should schedule a visit, and we'll talk with the therapist. I'm not going to continue to argue, and I don't want to talk and make things worse.
Hunter writes that Hallie told him his brother Bo didn't think highly of him and laughed behind his back.
Okay, so.
While Hunter's private life was, Secret Service agent texted Hunter from downstairs.
H, I'm in the lobby. Come down.
5 minutes.
5 minutes pass. The agent pings again.
All right, this is where, just so I can make sure that we're at the same spot and we're all caught together. This is when Hunter was at the hotel. He got a prostitute, paid for her with Joe Biden's credit card. The card didn't go through, so he kept charging it, trying to make it go through. So when the prostitute got paid, she bounced. When she got to wherever she was going, all of the charges that he put through all came through at the same time. So instead of, let's say, paying her $1,000 for the night, she got paid like, let's say, $60,000 for the night, something like that. I'm just talking numbers, but that's what happened. So Celtic is, I believe, his dad's code word for Joe Biden, I think, is Celtic. Like that's his AKA or whatever, his alias or whatever. And so when this happened, Hunter is high, holed off in the hotel, not wanting to come out. And the Secret Service knows that now Joe Biden's card has been charged to pay for the prostitute. They're trying to get to Hunter, and this is what's going on. They're conversating back and forth now, trying to get Hunter to come down and try and resolve it somehow, I guess. Cover for him, fix it.
Come on, H. This is linked to Celtic's account.
Celtic was Joe Biden's Secret Service code name when he was Veep.
DC is calling every 10. Let me up or come down. I can't help if you don't let me, H.
I promise. Be right down. Sorry.
5 minutes later, another former agent arrives.
He's going to the front desk. Call and tell them to give us a key now, H. As your friend, we need to resolve this in the immediate. Call the front desk now, H, or I'll have to assume you're in danger and we'll have to make them give us the keys.
9 minutes pass.
Really, I'm coming down right now. I really promise. Who's in the bathroom, buddy? I'm coming right this second.
We're at your door, open it.
So we have the special agent in charge of the Los Angeles office of Secret Service confirming that one of those debit cards is Celtic's, Joe Biden.
Even the legendary Party Hotel had seen enough.
He was kicked out of the Chateau Marmont because of the amount of partying that went on.
Should I take it as a badge of honor?
Hunter may have worn the eviction as a badge of honor, but he was less than honorable when Dallas, the stripper, notified him she was carrying his child.
Reached out a few times. It's clear you don't want to be reached. Need to talk to you.
She gave birth to Hunter's daughter, Navy, in August 2018. At the time, Hunter was living in a $16,000 a month Malibu home, spending his days smoking crack and patronizing prostitutes. He denied paternity, but he was still feeling constant pressure from Biden family members looking for a handout, expressing to a friend a woe is me resentment of his departed older brother. On October 12, 2018, Hunter went back to Delaware and bought a .38 caliber revolver. Hallie apparently thought he'd try to kill himself, threw the gun away. Hunter told his friend, sometimes therapist and one-time Fox News contributor, Keith Abloh, about it.
Did I tell you what she did with my .38? I freaked when I saw it was missing 10 minutes after she took it. And when she went back to get it after I scared the shit out of her, it was gone, which led to state police investigating me. True story.
Another true story. Hunter swore on a federal form that he wasn't a user of illegal drugs, even though there are photos of him smoking crack days before. Secret Service agents tried to take possession of the federal form, but the gun shop owner refused. Hunter is this barely functional human who's got this roaring crack addiction and roaring sex addiction. It's just a very bizarre scenario, considering that you have to juxtapose that against the really high-level, dangerous business that he was involved in. Hunter flew back to LA while he viewed himself as a functional drug user. His uncle and business associate, Jim Biden, knew he had big problems. Jim traveled west to book Hunter in an exclusive detox center with a pool, hot tub, gourmet meals, massages, and yoga classes. Again, it didn't take. So that fall, Hunter returned east to try a program in Massachusetts. It also didn't work. He drove up and down I-95 and for the next few months lived in a series of cheap hotels with easy access to dealers and prostitutes. During that time, he exchanged a series of texts with Abloh, joking about what they called Joe's dementia. In one, Abloh suggested a theme for a 2020 presidential run.
Any man who can triumph over dementia is a giant. Perhaps he can help us remember all we intended to be as people, since he can now remember his address.
He doesn't need to know where he lives, Keith. That's the only thing the Secret Service gets right, at least 75% of the time.
During that time, Hunter recorded a rambling poem.
For the slow people in the back, that was Hunter talking behind the scenes, saying how senile his father is. His father's y'all President Joe Biden.
In which he seems to fantasize about scuttling his father's White House ambitions.
I am the boy no one knows but fears. You do not know me. You do not want to know me. You will never know me if I so choose. All I am is feared and loathed, as I carry the load of every single sin and venal act. You think that you see me, but you do not. You think that you hear me, but you will not. You think that you love me, but you do not. I am all that is combined in the things you fear most. You think you understand my threats, but you do not. You think that I am silent and sullied and uncertain, but I am not.
Joe Biden could count on the support of of the media and other members of the establishment for his run for president, but Hunter Biden was a huge problem.
Would Hunter deliberately sabotage his father's presidential dreams? He was certainly angry over a February 2019 Maureen Dowd column about the troubled Hunter.
Your team just made me the uncontrollable, troubled, tax cheat, philanderer, sex and drug addict that you tried so hard to fix but couldn't. If you don't run, I'll never get a chance at redemption.
I'll run, but I need you.
In the finale to Who is Hunter Biden, weeks before Joe's big presidential announcement, an intervention for Hunter backfires. That's episode 4.
Oh, look at him. A face only a dad could love. Dot, 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 dot. Let me leave Hunter alone. He got enough problems. I thought the beef sector had some shit. The gift keep on giving. Not herpes. It's the other H. Hunter. Drop some shrimps in the chat. Y'all fucking with the content, y'all. Wrong folk shit. How you learning? God. Know what's going on.
In March of 2019, it was Joe Biden asking, where's Hunter? He was ready to announce his third run for president, but Hunter was on a drug and sex binge up and down I-95. That's when he got a call from his mother, Jill. She asked him to come home, and he accepted the invitation.
I walked into the house bright and homey as always, and immediately saw my 3 daughters. I knew then that something was up. A moment later, I spotted 2 counselors from a rehab center that I'd once gone to in Pennsylvania.
It was an intervention.
Not a chance, I said. My dad suddenly looked terrified. I don't know what else to do, he cried out. I'm so scared. Tell me what to do. My flat reply, not this.
Joe tightly hugged Hunter, who promised to go to a rehab center in Maryland. But when Hallie dropped him at the door, he never checked in. She drove off, and he Ubered to a motel by the airport.
For the next 2 days, while everybody who had been in my parents' house thought I was safe and sound at the center, I sat in my room and smoked crack that I tucked away in my traveling bag.
Here we go again.
In his memoir, Hunter claims he then hopped a plane back to California, checked into an Airbnb, and spent the next month and a half in a, quote, drug-befuddled blur of complete and utter debauchery. His laptop, however, suggests he was still in Delaware.
If you don't know about the laptop, this laptop is everything. And you're about to find out everything and more than you wanted to know about that laptop and what you've heard about it. Big dot. Dot, 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 dot.
He was certainly there on April 12. That's the day he made a fateful stop at a computer repair store.
My name is John Paul Mac Isaac, and I'm the former owner of the Mac Shop in Wilmington, Delaware. It was Friday, April 12th, 2019, right before I closed, and walked in a gentleman carrying 3 MacBook Pros. I could definitely tell that he was inebriated. And even though at this time I didn't recognize him, he was a bit beyond my visual acuity range. When I asked for his last name, there was a long pause, and he kind of sarcastically added Biden. And I had to ask Hunter for his password, and he started laughing. He was like, "You're not really going to like this."
Matt Isaac told Hunter that one laptop required more work and he'd contact him when it was fixed. What began as a simple data transfer soon turned troubling.
During my research, there was just so much homemade pornography on his laptop that it was disgusting. It was hard to work through. I tried to keep my blinders on, but the sheer volume of it was astounding.
You're a freak. That wasn't all he noticed.
There was a file called income.pdf. I decided that would be the file that I would open up to verify that the data transfer is actually working. And that's when I opened up that document, and I saw that he had made $1.2 million in 2014 for Burisma.
Once the data transfer was complete, Mac Isaac made several attempts to contact Hunter. He didn't respond. Shortly thereafter, on April 25, 2019, Joe announced his third run for president.
The single most important thing we have to accomplish is defeat Donald Trump.
The Biden family is ready, and we will do this as we always have, as a family.
But one member was missing.
A crime family.
By this stage, Hunter's gone back to California. He ends up meeting his current wife.
Her name, Melissa Cohen, a South African filmmaker, and things move fast, really fast.
The woman I took to be Melissa glanced my way and flashed a bright smile. Easy smile. It floored me. An hour later, Melissa said she was in love with me.
Within a week, they were married. Shortly thereafter, Hunter was hit with a paternity suit from the 28-year-old stripper who bore his child.
She files for parental support from him, and he at first denies paternity. Tests prove that that is in fact his child.
In March 2020, Hunter and Melissa had their own child, a son named Bo.
Hunter is a baby daddy. Hunter is the most ratchet motherfucker I ever seen come close to the White House. Not be connected, as far as being related to somebody in the White House. I mean, even just walk past the White House. This motherfucker got, trailer park twins and shit. He fucking his sister. His sister-in-law, whatever you want to call it. If sister's in the name, it's still too much. Like I said, this is the most Jerry Springer, soft white under. Drop some shrimps in the chat, y'all, if y'all mind is fucking blown about the activities of y'all president's son.
Meantime, Hunter still hadn't returned any of John Paul Mac Isaac's calls about the laptop.
He did sign an authorization. It clearly states at the bottom of the authorization that products left at the shop after 90 days become the Mac shop's property. When Joe announced his candidacy, I started to notice a lot in the news revolving around Burisma and Hunter Biden's involvement. I was concerned because I had seen the name Burisma multiple times, usually attached to a considerably large amount of money. By mid-July, it became my property.
At the time, the country was finally hearing all about Hunter's Ukrainian energy deals.
The company was owned by a pro-Russian Ukrainian oligarch. Once again, Hunter, zero experience in Ukraine, zero experience in oil, gas, but was paid millions of dollars.
Mac Isaac realized the laptop might contain key evidence.
I spent about a month and a half researching Burisma and the contents of the laptop. And at this point, I felt like there was enough here that I needed to get this to the authorities.
Mac Isaac met with FBI agents, but they seemed in no rush to take action.
I think that was my first indication that maybe the FBI was more interested in returning the laptop to the former owner and protecting the Bidens, and they were protecting me. Or getting this to the proper channels.
He needed a new strategy and reached out to those he felt could help.
I identified myself as Bob Costello, Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. I've seen the email that you sent to Rudy's attention. I'm interested if you've obtained that material legally.
Mac Isaac sent Costello a copy of the hard drive.
There is a massive amount of material here that's very damaging to Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Jim Biden. It's not stuff that you would ever want to see the light of day if you were any of those people.
It was pretty quiet for a while dealing with Bob, and we were just kind of waiting. That changed when Senator Grassley and Johnson released their Hunter Biden Burisma report.
We found that they engaged in potential criminal financial deals across the globe, including China, which created counterintelligence concerns.
With few journalists actually looking into the problems caused by the international business dealings of people in Joe Biden's family, we had a couple of senators look into it, and they ended up putting out a really exhaustive and helpful report. And it's not based on rumors or speculation. They go through Treasury Department documents and other government documents to show what was happening in this Biden family business.
Chuck Grassley and I were falsely accused of soliciting and disseminating Russian disinformation. Nothing could be further from the truth.
They wanted to detract from the damage that it might do to the Biden candidacy for the presidency of the United States. But you saw possible criminal activity. You saw great concerns about national security. You soon found out that maybe Dad knows more about his son's business. They didn't report anything.
The fake news.
I hope that you guys are able to follow, because I know that this is like, you know, not the coolest lingo and shit. But if you don't understand the motherfucking kingpin, the Don shit, the gangster motherfucking criminal activity that's going on, that's being exposed and broken down, I don't know what to fucking tell you. You can't make this shit up. This is the best movie that's motherfucking real. While they talking about Trump and got him on the news and arrested him for new charges every day, this is what the fuck is going on in your White House.
Where is Hunter? Where's Hunter? Hunter's in a foreign country. Taking in $25 million today.
In one debate, I remember Joe Biden was asked about this $3.5 million that Hunter received from the wife of the former Moscow mayor, and he said, "Oh, that's been debunked."
The mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
That's not an answer. None of that is true.
Really? He didn't get
Mr. President, Mr. President, please. Totally discredited.
It hasn't been debunked at all. It was a government document that showed this.
Though the media largely dismissed the Senate report, Mac Isaac did not.
I realized
Joe just stood there and told a blatant fucking lie. And y'all, I can't get a strike, y'all. So I know y'all don't want to hear my fucking mouth and shit, but I can't just jack the shit and play it straight through like that. I gotta give commentary and shit. So I know I get on y'all last fucking nerve. Please, you can hit dislike. I don't mind. Just show me that you give a fuck. You know, hit like, dislike, drop a middle finger up in the comments, drop a shrimp in the comments, just let me know that you feel something, but I got to give commentary.
that the report was missing some vital information about how that money was earned and what was that money paying for. I reached out to Senator Ron Johnson's website.
When somebody's offering you something like that, there's a real responsibility to fully vet information. When we go to the FBI, who knew all about it, they wouldn't tell us squat. Now, as we went through the vetting process, I'm starting to think that's either a really good Russian intel product or that's Hunter Biden's computer. And I think now everybody agrees that's Hunter Biden's computer.
While Johnson's team vetted the laptop's contents, Bob Costello tried to find a media outlet to publish the material.
He sent me some of just astonishing photographs of Hunter Biden from the laptop. One famous one of Hunter asleep with a crack pipe in his mouth, and other photographs. There was an extraordinary treasure trove there.
The Post reached out to Hunter for
comment. Hunter asleep with the crack pipe. Aw, so sweet and adorable.
Mac Isaac's phone rang.
I get a phone call and I answer it, and it's a gentleman, George Merceris, who announced himself as Hunter Biden's lawyer. And he was asking if I was still in possession of some equipment that Hunter had left back in 2017. I told him, can you send me your credentials so I know that I'm allowed to talk to who I'm talking to and you represent the customer? He agreed, and I received an email shortly thereafter asking basically to check into the status of the equipment and acknowledging the phone call. I went to bed that night very, very restless.
We published on October 14, 3 weeks before the election.
When the New York Post broke the news about Hunter Biden's laptop, a lot of people were interested in it because it had pictures and lurid details about Hunter Biden's drug issues, prostitution, and other crazy living. And it also showed that Joe Biden was a part of this Hunter Biden family business. And it was explosive. Many people in the media freak out and try to figure out how they can suppress the story. It has the potential to completely reshape the race. And I think everybody knew that. Facebook puts out a notice saying that they are going to artificially suppress the story until they can have some fact checkers put on it. Fact checkers who never arrive. Twitter reshaped the race.
All right. I gotta break shit down because I know this is gonna be over a lot of people's head. A lot of shit that's going on is gonna be boring for some of y'all. So I gotta let y'all know what the fuck is going on. What the fuck they just said is that Twitter, I don't know if they said Twitter or Facebook, I'm high, but Twitter or Facebook said that they was gonna suppress the story until they found out if it was true about Hunter. So that means that they took a story that would have been viral and would have been everywhere and made the algorithm, thank you, Facebook. Facebook took the story, and instead of it being viral, they made the algorithm erase it. So therefore, they can erase news and they can present news. You smell me? Shit can really happen. That's huge. And maybe they're talking about it in Australia. Maybe they're talking about it in China. Maybe they're talking about it in Africa. But in the States, they will suppress it and we won't see it. But then there's other news, ghetto shit, another fucking Rico with, Young Thug or some shit. And then that will be flooding the algorithm so they can take it and give it away. Give it away and take it. Whatever the fuck. Listen to me trying to talk like Shakespeare. I don't even know what the fuck I said. Give it and take it. I don't know what the fuck I just said. Take it away. Give it, take it. You know what I'm saying?
And I think everybody knew that. Facebook puts out a notice saying that they are going to artificially suppress the story until they can have some fact checkers put on it. Fact checkers who never arrive. Twitter, they suppress it so much, you can't even share a link to the New York Post. And if you did, you would be kicked off Twitter.
Big Tech put their thumb on the scale, and they decided, without any knowledge, without examining any information themselves, that the laptop was a story that people should not hear about.
Obviously, we're not going with the
cover up
story right now on Hunter Biden.
Some dismissing the laptop seized on the 2020 catchphrase Russian disinformation.
Disinformation, Rudy Giuliani is peddling.
So talk to me. Tell me what the fuck you thinking about all of this shit, because I know it's a lot. Trust me. This shit is a lot of fucking rapid proof and receipts coming back to back to back, fast and hard. That's why I didn't want to keep stopping it. But tell me what you thinking about all of this motherfucking shit that you're seeing so far, just, in your way.
Very well could be connected to some sort of Russian government disinformation campaign.
I'm no Russian agent. I'm a former federal prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. I'm the furthest thing you could have to a Russian agent. This stuff is genuine. I understand why they want to run away from it, but you can't run away from reality.
Joe Biden himself, his campaign, never disputed laptop was Hunter Biden's. They knew it was Hunter Biden's laptop.
The October surprise didn't stop Joe Biden from being elected America's 46th president.
It ended up coming down to 43,000 votes across 3 states. When you're dealing with an election that close, every little thing can have a huge impact.
And now Hunter Biden, as the president's son, was positioned to cash in like never before. But would he dare?
You would think that after all of the scandals that Hunter Biden would just want to lie low.
Laying low doesn't seem to be an option. There are ongoing discoveries into business dealings between himself and China.
He is still a partner with the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing. Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, has been asked on numerous occasions since President Biden got into the Oval Office, when is Hunter Biden going to get rid of his share in this company, BHR? And always her answer is he's in the process of divesting himself of that shareholding, but it never happens.
For decades, Hunter's improbable run in banking, lobbying, and hedge funds had critics shaking their heads. But his latest venture was a thumb in their eyes.
After President Biden is elected, Hunter Biden comes up with a new career, this time art. He makes art and he sells it for a massive amount of money.
The Hunter Biden art scheme, as I call it, is genius level corruption. The art world is rife with money laundering. Art is subjective. Art is in the eye of the beholder. I read recently a British artist sold an invisible piece of art to somebody for $20,000. So, you can put a value on it whatever you want. And that's really what the Bidens have done. Hunter Biden is selling these works of art for up to $500,000.
Okay, I'm with you, So. You said Trump is still a piece of shit to you. Who has the more intervention criminal situation? Because I'm still getting a little bit of explanations. I'm still a little bit confused about what Trump did a little bit. Just a little bit. But when you put this kind of ghetto ass shit here, I don't even know what the fuck the art scam is. I just know that all of a sudden Hunter is an artist. I know he's a crackhead. And then this nigga just talking about it's a scam. So I don't know what kind of art scam they just getting into. But this is the kind of crimes I can understand. This is like watching Scarface. This is like watching The Godfather. This is like watching American Greed. I can understand these crimes. I don't really know what Trump did a little bit. But the Bidens, that's like watching Young Thug and Slack. That's like watching niggas slide and shit. Like, that's all I'm saying a little bit, So. But talk to me, All opinions are welcome here. And you know what? Listen, everybody welcome. Republicans, Democrats, everybody. Illegals,
Which goes for more than some of the grandmasters out there.
Hunter Biden, the painter. Has Hunter Biden finally found his true calling? Is he the equal of Picasso and Van Gogh? Or have the Bidens simply launched perhaps the most brazen grift in the history of American politics? We reached out to Hunter for this story. He didn't respond. Miranda Devine has her opinion.
It shows corruption at the highest level of the American government. It shows...
Damn, So, you're right. He did try to rig the motherfucking election. I stand corrected.
A corrupt enterprise that has been going on in Delaware for decades by the Biden family, which Joe Biden, when he was vice president, internationalized around the world and therefore put America's national security at risk. It has compromised America.
And the Hunter Biden saga is not over yet.
If the Biden story is a Shakespeare play, like Macbeth, but we are at the midway point. We continue to go through the Hunter Biden laptop. And of course, you have the president of the United States, Joe Biden, who is himself making unpredictable decisions as it pertains to American national security. All of that, I think, combines to a very dramatic and I would argue very troubling finish to this story.
So much of the Hunter story is still unfolding, with the remaining pages blank, unwritten. Joe Biden remains president. Hunter Biden still has access to political power and continues to escape scrutiny. With new revelations regarding his business dealings and personal life continuing to unfold, we await the closing chapter of this story. As Hunter himself said in his memoir, "I'm not going anywhere." Well, Hunter, neither are we.
All right, that was season 1. I'm going to go ahead and play season 2. Just put it all in one, put it all together.
You go ahead on and play it, darling.
Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Thanks for sharing this out.
Go ahead and play it, darling.
This actually is a few months old, but it's still very relevant.
Hold on,
I know a lot of people haven't seen it.
Number one, I only want to watch shit that got receipts, right? I don't want to hear about no motherfucking gossip. I don't want to hear about no rumors. I don't want to hear that Remy might be cheating on that post. I need to see a receipt. I need to see a Remy tweet. Say, yeah, I'm smashing this motherfucker. This my new nigga. I need to see all that, right? So right here, we got receipts. So I want to know, number one, is Hunter gonna do some real time, y'all? Cause we ain't done yet. We ain't done. But from what you see so far, all this shit, is Hunter gonna do some time? Number two, is Joe Biden gonna get impeached? Number three, I want to know who is the worst of the evils, Trump or Biden? Who is the bigger gangster criminal? Who you got as your kingpin? if you know.
Let's see, is it going to
Talk
play
in the
here?
comments, y'all. Talk in the comments, please.
Oh, wait, it's still season 1, episode 5.
My mind is fucked up. This is better than Power.
My internet's so slow tonight, but it's okay. It gives us a little break in between each episode.
This is y'all president. I ain't got nothing to do with this nigga.
Go make dinner and make coffee, waiting for this damn thing to start. Yes, 9 people can make a difference, trust me. And
this nigga, I didn't know this country had this much crap. I didn't know this country had this much crap.
And welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Jarrett. This is Who is Hunter Biden Live.
Just give me the coke.
There are several new bombshell developments in the investigation into President Biden's son. The liberal mainstream media finally admitting that Hunter Biden had some pretty shady business dealings, to say the least, with China and several other countries, most notably the Washington Post editorial board writing over the weekend, quote, "The Hunter Biden story is an opportunity for reckoning," going on to say, the lesson learned from 2020 may well be that there's also a danger of suppressing accurate and relevant stories. All of this coming 16 months after the mainstream media said the New York Post story on Hunter Biden's laptop was nothing but Russian disinformation.
On a scale of 1 to 10, so how good is this motherfucking video? How good is this motherfucking shit compared to all the other shit that we don't watch on the channel? Augie, Beef Sector, everything. On a scale of 1 to 10, what you rating this shit here?
Nation.
This classic textbook Soviet-Russian tradecraft at work.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
This is a quote Russian disinformation operation.
It may very well be a Russian hacking operation. It's so obviously a Russian operation.
Well, just last week, the Washington Post validated nearly 22,000 emails on the laptop. The Washington Post went even further. It put a lie to Joe Biden's claim that his son never made a dime from China. Evidence showed
a Russian hacking operation is so
All right. I digress. Let me shut the fuck up. Back to the criminal activity, y'all. My God.
Obviously, a Russian operation.
Well, just last week, the Washington Post validated nearly 22,000 emails on the laptop. The Washington Post went even further. It put a lie to Joe Biden's claim that his son never made a dime from China. Evidence showed that Hunter Biden banked nearly $5 million in Chinese cash and millions more from other foreign sources. Then there's the New York Times, which previously ridiculed the laptop as fiction, suddenly also had an epiphany. The Times conceded that Hunter Biden could be charged with tax fraud, money laundering, and failure to register as a foreign agent. I personally add some other charges to that, but we'll get to it. President Biden's chief of staff was pressed on these new revelations on Sunday.
Is the president confident his family didn't cross any ethical lines?
Thank you, so-so.
George, the president's confident that his family did the right thing. But again, I want to be really clear. These are actions by Hunter and his brother. They're private matters. They don't involve the president, and they certainly are something that no one at the White House is involved.
Following Klain's statement, Fox News broke the story that Klain personally was soliciting money from Hunter Biden way back in 2012 to help fund an entity supporting the vice president's residence where dear old dad Joe Biden was living. In an email, Klain called it unpleasant business, and he urged Hunter to, quote, keep this low key because raising money for the residence is now bad PR. Joining me now to break it all down is Miranda Devine, who is author of the best-selling book Laptop from Hell, and she's also a New York Post columnist. Sean Duffy, former Wisconsin Congressman. Joe Concha joins us, media and political columnist at the Hill, all Fox News contributor. Great to have you all here with us today. Miranda, let me start with you, since you wrote the book on the laptop. You were listening to Ron Klain a moment ago, and to hear him tell the story his boss, Joe Biden, president of the United States, was never even remotely involved in his son's influence peddling schemes. But that completely ignores the evidence, doesn't it? And the statements of Tony Bobulinski. There are emails talking about Joe Biden's involvement.
Yeah, look, it just does not withstand scrutiny. Ron Klain's attempts to absolve Joe Biden of any connection to this influence peddling scheme that his family, not just his son Hunter, but his brother Jim Biden, have been mounting around the world during the years that he was vice president. And there is overwhelming evidence in the laptop of Joe Biden's involvement, of his meeting multiple partners of Hunter's in, he met them in Beijing, he met them in his own home in Washington, D.C., the vice presidential residence, he met them at the Cafe Milano restaurant, he met Russians, Kazakhstanis, he met Ukrainians, Chinese, Mexicans. And look, there is also coded words that were used by Hunter and his partners to refer to their father as his father as the big guy, or, my chairman, also Hunter called him. And there is also some evidence on the laptop of money going from Hunter Biden to his father for things like an AT&T phone bill and maintenance on one of his homes in Delaware. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to say that. I mean, the object that they were selling, that they were peddling, was Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was aware and involved.
Right. They were selling access. Hunter Biden was selling his father's influence to foreign governments and foreign entities. He was selling his power and making millions in the process. I'm glad you brought up the big guy quote, because, Congressman, there are emails that confirm these meetings with Hunter Biden's business partners and Joe Biden. Indeed, there are photographs of them all together confirming it. And that implicates Joe Biden as at least tangentially involved, if not more, receiving financial benefit. And then there's this is Tony Bobulinski, who is the former business partner of Hunter Biden. Take a listen.
In that email, there's a statement where they go through the equity. Jim Biden's referenced as
10%, doesn't say Biden, it says Jim. And then it has 10% for the big guy held by H. I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden. That's crystal clear to me because I lived it. I met with the former vice president in person multiple times.
So here's Hunter's business partner. They got this scheme to make tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, with the Chinese. He's meeting with Joe Biden. He's talking with Joe Biden about it. And at one point in time, Bobulinski became so concerned. Former vice president of the United States, now planning to run for president, involved in these influence peddling schemes. And he sat down with Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, and said, how can you guys get away with this? Right. And with a smirk on his face, Jim Biden says, plausible deniability, which is why they kept it so secret with code names like the big guy, and Celtic was another name for Joe Biden.
Right. So, I think on its face, plausible deniability actually works, right? But we know that there's forensic accounting that happens with regard to the FBI and the DOJ. And so if you did a forensic accounting of Hunter Biden's finances, right? And as you mentioned, there's millions of dollars that were coming in to the hands of Hunter Biden. And if you're giving whether it was 10% to the big guy, Joe Biden, or was some would say it's 50% based on a text that Hunter Biden sent to his daughter, no matter what the amount, we're talking about huge sums of money. And so how do you get the money from Hunter to Joe? An accounting of that would show, was Hunter paying Joe's bills? Or did Hunter Biden have an account, whether it was a credit card account or a debit account, where Hunter might have been in California, however, there was charges being made in Delaware. This is really easy to find out. The FBI could find this out, Greg, and they probably have. They probably see the connection where Joe Biden was making the money. But I think another point in the original clip that you played, Hunter Biden was a crackhead. No one on earth would hire Hunter Biden. Right. What they're really doing is hiring Joe Biden for their influence. And the concern I have, which I'm sure we're going to get to today, is how does this compromise Joe Biden? What secrets have been told that are known by our foreign adversaries that they can leverage on behalf of their interests against our sitting president, who's supposed to look out for us, but he's looking out for those foreign interests that have the goods on it?
All right. I want to talk a little bit about, with you, the media expert, on the media's role.
I'm not going to take it back. Yes, I am going to take it back because I need for y'all to hear him say that again. So y'all can understand the point of the difference between Trump's crimes and Biden's crimes is that, I ain't going to take it back. I'm going to break it down. When Biden's making decisions right now, like with Ukraine, China, he's making decisions based on his relationships. He's making decisions based on his pockets. He's not making decisions based on the American public. So while the American public can't even afford a dozen eggs, him and his family is making money hands over fists with our enemies, our friends, legally, illegally, all kinds of shit right here in front of our faces in 800 different ways. So that's why it's a big deal for those that might say they don't give a fuck, partially. The other thing is that your president is a big ass fucking crook. And his son is a crackhead. And they're making all the decisions for the free world.
In all of this, the laptop was never Russian disinformation.
What's up, Gimme?
In fact, it was easy to authenticate the laptop by simply talking to the people whose emails were contained therein, who all said, yeah, these are genuine. But the laptop peddled that.
What we watching right now is crazy, Gimme. Jump in. This is nuts.
Story, because 51 former Intel officials, led by John Brennan, James Clapper, Leon Panetta, Mike Morrell, Mike Hayden, all penned a letter just before the election saying, it's Russian disinformation, even though they didn't have a scintilla of proof. And didn't the media use that letter to run essentially a candidate protection racket to cover up for Joe.
So we're 3 weeks before a presidential election. And if you're going to teach a class on media malfeasance, this goes to the top of the syllabus. And trust me, you have lots of examples to choose from. But I think this particular story does, because it's three-part, Greg, as you just laid out. Traditional media dismissed the story, tried not to talk about it. Then they got the opportunity to talk about it and call it Russian disinformation, because, boy, they love talking about Russia from 2016 to 2021, or 2020 in this case. And the reason why they were able to do that was because of these 51 former intelligence officers. Oh, who are these guys, by the way? John Brennan, former CIA. Who does he work for now? MSNBC. James Clapper. Who does he work for now? CNN. You're a former home, Sean. How dare you? Right? Thank you for bringing that up. Sorry about that. Don't mean to give you PTSD on that one. Mike Katie, same thing, CNN. You could go on and on, right? So then the third part comes in, social media, right? And not only are they going to suppress the story, if you shared the story, you were locked out of your account. Ask Kelly McEnany, who was White House press secretary at the time. She was.
Look at what they're doing on social media, right? Fuck a shadow ban. Fuck a shadow ban. Certain shit, they said, if you share certain shit on social media, you locked out of your account, period. So they're going to take it down, and then you can't repost or do anything. So people think that they have seen the censorship of social media. It hasn't even begun. We are probably just like China. The way that we speak about them not being able to see shit and the propaganda and all that shit. If we are not, I'm not going to, I'm just being extreme right now. I'm not going to say that we're equal to them, but what I'm saying is that the same censorship is going on, and they have the capacity to completely not allow us to see anything but what they want us to see us. So you have to think about, what are you seeing on your own? Because really, you're not seeing much on your own. Basically, I'm getting sidetracked right here, but I'm just going to throw this in here. The algorithm just learns what you like, what you're into type of things, and then they use what they have to manipulate what you see. And then by manipulating what you see, it manipulates what you think, what you feel. And then it also manipulates what you like. I didn't mean to go there, but you hear what they're doing and what they're saying. And this is a bit boring, so don't pay attention to these big ass words they using that you don't know what the fuck they saying. You know how to get the meat and potatoes out of the shit. So just take the ghetto ass, ratchet ass, gangster fucking shit out of what they saying. And then once they stop talking, then we're gonna get back into the juice. They're a little bit boring, but they dropping some big ass gems right here. You just gotta decipher. So hopefully I'm helping a little bit with that.
Are they going to suppress the story? If you shared the story, you were locked out of your account. Ask Kelly McEnany, who was White House press secretary at the time. She wasn't allowed in her account for sharing a story. The Trump campaign, same thing. So it's a three-headed monster. Traditional media, the swamp of the intelligence officers, and then social media, making sure that Joe Biden got over the finish line. And only now the Washington Post and the New York Times are talking about this. To quote the great Bruce Willis, actually Detective John McClane, welcome to the party, pal. You're a little late on this one. And all the reckonings in the world aren't going to make up for the fact that this story was suppressed, censored, and dismissed.
Good McClane quote.
Thank you.
I want to read another quote. Let me stick with you for just a second. Here's NPR back in the fall. All right. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. They call the Hunter laptop pure distraction. So then Joe Biden gets elected, mission accomplished. 6 months later, NPR issues a correction, not an apology, but a correction saying they were wrong. I mean, these were purveyors of fake news.
That's crazy.
This wasn't journalism. This was reporter fraud, wasn't it?
Not journalism, but otherism, activism, right? Yeah. NPR, your tax dollars at work, and this is what we see here at this point. Let's put it this way. People say, all right, well, maybe it did look like Russian disinformation. Maybe this really wasn't a story because it was about the president's son and not the president, or at least that's how it was presented. Let's say Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump was the focus of this laptop. What do you think the coverage would look like?
Big tech, as Joe mentioned, Miranda, censored this story, and your employer and your work at the New York Post, which was incredible in breaking the laptop story. was censored. It was suppressed with brute force by computers. Twitter and Facebook buried the particular story, and accounts were disabled. People's repeat and stories and follow-up stories, that was all deep sixed. All the more reason, it seems to me, that we need to seriously rethink big tech. They need to be regulated, and frankly, I think the Department of Justice needs to look at them under the antitrust laws. But how did it feel going through all of that, knowing that your story was accurate, and yet you were being censored?
Look, it was really shocking. We expected that, the likes of the New York Times would probably ignore the story because they were in the tank for Joe Biden. But to have the two, Facebook and Twitter come out within hours of our story going live and say that they were throttling it, and in Twitter's case, they were disabling our account for 2 weeks until a few days before the election, pending Facebook's fact-checking. Twitter accused us of peddling hacked materials. Jack Dorsey, who owned Twitter at the time, later on said that was a mistake, but it was too late. They succeeded in what they wanted to do, which was to suppress any information, censor our story, make sure that Donald Trump didn't win the election, that Joe Biden was victorious. And that was them, that was election interference. And it's frightening. The New York Post is the oldest newspaper in the country. It is the 6th largest by circulation. And these unaccountable, private or, conglomerates, oligopolies, weighed in and decided that they were going to affect the election. And, soon after that, they deplatformed a sitting US president. And that is frightening when these unaccountable oligopolies are more powerful than the leader of the free world. We really have a problem. And we saw President Macron in France voiced some strong concerns when that happened. I think that nothing has happened to those companies since, other than Elon Musk has brought into Twitter, which is a good sign. But really, they have too much power, and they control the avenues of information.
Yeah, let me go to the former member of Congress. Congress has the authority to do something about Silicon Valley and big tech companies that run amok and that unduly influence a presidential election. I have written column after column saying you need to go after them under antitrust laws, break them up if necessary, but at the very least, you need to strictly regulate them so this doesn't happen. But Congress hasn't done it. Republicans didn't want to do it when they were in charge, and Democrats don't now.
So it's a great question, because if you look at Democrats, they hate big business, but they love big tech because big tech is one of their avenues of advocacy that push their agenda and will attack Republicans. So they want to leave that big business alone. And Republicans, they're living back in the 80s. They think we're back with the Ronald Reagan era, and they want to support businesses. They want to support free enterprise. They believe in limited government. And what you're talking about is actually government interfering in the private sector. Republicans are revolted by that. They have to rethink the way they're thinking about technology, its impact on free speech. And I think more and more right now, Greg, you're seeing Republicans come around to the idea that this is a danger to democracy. And Republicans now are putting together their platform on what they want to run on should they win the House in November. And one of those planks in their platform is to address big tech. Now, hopefully they'll go far enough and actually get our hands around big tech and get it back to a free speech platform where it is the public square, where we can all have a conversation, we can all debate. I'm afraid, though, that they might shoot low and not do enough.
Yeah. You would think this would be a cathartic event for Republicans who say, wait a minute, maybe the media and big tech stole the last presidential election. We need to act to make sure this doesn't happen again. So let me turn to the media guy, because if you look at the Media Research Center in-depth survey of Democratic voters, what they found was almost 50% of the Democratic voters for Joe Biden were completely unaware of the laptop story. That was the success of big tech in the mainstream media. And 10% of those said, had I known, I wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden. Now, that 10% would have been enough in the swing states for Donald Trump to have won. So one can make an argument that they stole the election.
People forget Georgia came down to 10,000 votes. Arizona came down to 12,000 votes. Wisconsin was less than 1 percentage point, right? Michigan was close. Pennsylvania was close. Nevada was close. All of these were very close. So when you say, 10%, yeah, then you have a different president right now, or at least you have the 45th president, still the 45th president, no 46th president. So this had clear ramifications that actually changed the outcome and trajectory of the entire world. That's not hyperbole. That's fact.
Yeah. And you know, Miranda,
what they saying with all those big words is that by manipulating the media, is that manipulated the outcome of the presidency, and that's facts. And that shows that they can manipulate anything. They did it, and when it was over, they simply said, "I bad." Who's gonna do shit about it too? Nobody. And it goes right along. To be able to do that on such a grand scale without it being able to even be noticed is insane. And so when they put stuff out like this and use all these big words and shit like that, it keeps us away from it. It makes us feel like it's boring. You know, we don't want to sit through this. We don't understand what they're saying. We don't want to hear what they're saying. That's because they're hiding it in all those big words. That's how we don't ever know shit. This is the most exciting thing I done seen in years. And I don't believe that it's been happening. So, you know, I know how boring it could be. So hopefully I'm helping those people that wouldn't normally watch this. Hopefully I'm helping to explain a little bit to some people that maybe wouldn't necessarily understand, because I'm not a book smart person, but I'm an intelligent person. So if you know, I may not understand it textbook wise, but if you explain it to me or break it down for me, paint a picture, give me some analogies or whatever, I can understand because I'm intelligent. So just because you don't understand all the big words and stuff like that, don't feel away. That's done by design. Trust me. If you want to hide something from us, put it in a book. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same theory. So
keep asking me, well, over the last week or two, why has the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN now reluctantly and grudgingly and belatedly, 16, 17 months later, come out and said, oops, yeah, the laptop's real, it's authentic. Yes, there are incriminating emails contained therein. And my theory is, well, they're doing it now for two reasons. One, they succeeded in their objective, protecting Joe Biden and defeating Donald Trump. But number two, they don't want their readers to wake up or their viewers to wake up one morning and see, the news that Hunter Biden has been indicted and maybe Joe Biden implicated in all of this. So they're coming out with it now, but not with a scent of mea culpa or apology.
Well, look, I mean, that's just their MO. And, the Washington Post, what an irony. Their motto is democracy dies in darkness. They kept their readers in darkness before the election and for 18 months afterwards. And, I'm not going to give them a pat on the back for coming out now. All they're trying to do, as you said, is get out ahead of this grand jury investigation into Hunter Biden and his tax evasion alleged and money laundering and foreign lobbying issues. They know that something is going to come out of that, and they don't want to have egg on their face. But at the same time, they're all running, the New York Times, NBC, CNN, CBS, they're all running the same line, which is, maybe Hunter did something bad. Maybe, as Ron Klain said the other day, Jim Biden did, but not Joe Biden. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden. He knew nothing. And, we've also had the White House stand by Joe Biden's previous claim in one of those debates with Donald Trump that his son made no money from China. That really puts the White House in a precarious position, I think, by standing by completely false statements.
In Peter Schweitzer's book,
you guys already seen earlier that he was making money from all those countries. So
he outlines in meticulous detail with documents and $31 million in detail with documents and loads of research how Hunter Biden and the Biden family, the Biden crime family, if you will, netted close to $31 million in 5 secret Chinese deals. Schweitzer goes through those 5 deals. And I talked to him about those 5 deals, $31 million. And then I put the question to him, did Joe Biden benefit from any of that cash? And he said, absolutely. And he lays it out in his book. So if the president of the United States is implicated in a case in which his son may be indicted, doesn't that scream for the appointment of a special counsel?
It does, but you're not going to see this attorney general actually appoint a special counsel. They're all about protecting Joe Biden. And when you look at how this case is unraveling, you have allegations that there could be tax fraud. That is only about Hunter Biden. There could be FARA violations, that Hunter Biden was a foreign agent and didn't register. That's only about Hunter Biden. The media, and I think the DOJ and the FBI are working overtime to wall off Joe Biden from Hunter Biden. So any crime that's going to come from, I think, a corrupt DOJ and FBI are only going to be crimes that are specific to Hunter. And any evidence that's on the laptop but is correlated to Joe Biden, they're gonna wall those charges off. And we're gonna say, look, we're not corrupt. Law enforcement works. The Justice Department works in America. Hunter Biden was charged with a tax violation, but they're gonna stop short of getting to the truth of how Joe Biden participated in making money off his son, selling influence from the vice president.
Miranda?
Look, there is some indication from the grand jury that they are looking into the big guy. We know that, at least one witness has been shown an exhibit and asked who is the big guy. So they are getting close to the president. It is impossible to look at Hunter Biden's business dealings and not implicate or involve the president.
You have too much faith, Miranda. Come on, this is.
Are you calling me? Not Miranda.
All we've been through.
Why are they asking who is the big guy?
You got one question, and we don't know what the answer was, and it's easy for the Department of Justice to gloss over that answer. Listen, they are not going to come close, I think, to Joe Biden.
It's not going to happen. Joe Concha?
He's talking about Shaq. Shaq's the big guy. It's in every commercial I watch. In November, there's obviously going to be a red tsunami, right? Democratic strategists will tell you that. Republicans need 5 seats to win back the House and retire Nancy Pelosi. So when that happens, I guess I'm going to take over the show and ask Sean a question on your behalf. When that happens, I would imagine then, take the FBI and the DOJ out of this, hearings will begin in earnest in January of 2023 to look into this, right?
Probably. Yeah, absolutely. So on the policy front, Republicans, if they have the House and or the Senate, they can pass all the bills they want. Joe Biden isn't going to sign any of them. But they have the power of the gavel. And to your point, they can do investigations. They can hold hearings. They can call witnesses. They can subpoena documents. And make no mistake, and they can impeach. Make no mistake, though, they are going to do that at a vigorous pace. Yeah. And that's how we're going to get to some truth.
I want to come back to the lie that Joe Biden kept peddling during the presidential debates when the question of his son's influence peddling bribery schemes, and that's my judgment on him. We'll wait and see what the grand jury does. But here's what Joe Biden said about it. Take a listen.
I'm worried these people.
Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China?
Well, 31 million. So it's hardly no money. Even the Washington Post is admitting nearly $5 million, although they happen to ignore conveniently all the other Chinese deals when added up together, Joe, get to about $31 million. Biden called it all garbage, and then he repeated it during another presidential debate. Take a listen.
Look, my son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I carried out the policy of the United States government.
And, I did nothing wrong. The Washington Post is saying he did nothing wrong. CNN is saying he did nothing wrong. My son did nothing wrong. Other partners in perpetuating yet another lie.
And during those debates, the audiences for, I believe, 84 million people watching. So that was the big stage that a big lie, for lack of a better term, was told. And as you said, now media allies pushing this whole notion that, okay, maybe Hunter Biden did something wrong, but Joe Biden was clear. Again, the curiosity gene has gone away, right? That we can't verify anything. No, you can't verify anything unless you pick up the hood and start to try to verify things. I remember Donald Trump during the 60 Minutes interview right before the election, where he says to Leslie Stahl, you got to cover this. Leslie Stahl says, Donald, we can't verify any of this. What are you talking about? Well, of course not. You didn't even try. 60 Minutes. I think you have some resources. And it was dismissed by the leading broadcast news magazine in the past 50 years. It's incredible.
And what's so frustrating, Joe, and it must have been frustrating to you because you follow the media so closely, when you read the Washington Post editorial over the weekend, saying there needs to be a reckoning. When you actually read the op-ed and the contents of this thing, what they're doing is offering rationalizations and justifications for why their reporters didn't do their job. I mean, it's really disgraceful media malpractice.
And a reckoning means accountability, right? So, okay, all the people that ignored that story, you're going to see some reprimands and punishments and firings? No, of course not. That's what a reckoning is. When you actually make changes as a result of missing a story this big, ain't going to happen. It's not the DNA, Greg.
Isn't the problem really this? So if you look back, Hunter Biden was selling the access to his father when he was vice president. That's bad, right? But Joe Biden lied about it on stage. Who knows that's a lie? Russia knows it's a lie. China knows it's a lie. That gives Russia and China great influence and power over Joe Biden.
And what did they want? They wanted a pliable American president, and they got it. It's coincidence right now that Russia, Ukraine, and China are all connected in the attack on Ukraine. And Joe Biden's knee deep in it. Just the News, which is a website that broke a lot of these stories on Hunter Biden, came out with a story today. And it's entitled, Hunter Biden sought to cash in with oligarchs during first Russian war on Ukraine. And it implicates Joe Biden as well. So here they are taking advantage of the richest people in the world in Ukraine and Russia and China and so forth.
Joe Dirt.
And what are they doing it for, Miranda? They're doing it for money and to sell, as I said, a pliable American future president. They got it.
Well, I mean, the actual sitting vice president, this was when the Ukrainian deals were going on, and Hunter Biden was being paid $83,000 a month. I mean, this ended up being about $1 million a year, $4 million in total, while his father was vice president, while he was a crack addict, and while the owner of the corrupt energy company Burisma that was paying him this money was under investigation internationally with Interpol, with the British. He had money that was frozen, millions of dollars frozen in a London bank account. The FBI was looking into him, and Joe Biden would fly over to Kiev and he would say, give these thundering speeches about corruption. And then when President Poroshenko took him at his word, prosecutor, and brought out of retirement a prosecutor who was renowned as being pretty clean. And he started looking into Nikolai Zlochevsky, who was the owner of Burisma and Hunter's paymaster. And as soon as he started issuing warrants for this man's arrest, started seizing his property in Kiev, we had phone calls from Joe Biden to President Poroshenko telling him that he needed to fire the prosecutor or otherwise $1 billion in US aid would be withheld. Now, Joe Biden and the compliant media and various NGOs in Ukraine have said that the prosecutor was corrupt. But there's no evidence that he was corrupt. And I don't think that anyone has really looked at the fact that that prosecutor was going after Hunter's boss. That's right. And he was fired. So that is a clear, apparent on the circumstantial evidence, quid pro quo.
It is. And let's put that question to the former prosecutor, Sean Duffy, because it is a crime to misuse your public office to confer a benefit on a foreign country in exchange for something of value. It's a violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. It constitutes arguably bribery, not to mention influence peddling. And when you are diverting the funds through several different accounts that Hunter Biden controls, that's also money laundering.
That's right,
isn't it?
The list of potential crimes is long. Right, but can I add one more to how this is affecting us today? So you have the very wealthy wife of the mayor of Moscow who sends Hunter Biden $3.5 million.
Yelena Baturina.
And so now, as we have Joe Biden sanctioning the oligarchs of Russia, who's left off the list?
Yelena Baturina.
That's right. So you see how the money and the knowledge of some people in Russia is even protecting them today, because Joe Biden can't let that story get out. What was the $3.5 million? They won't say. They won't say. Again, it's affecting decisions that are made right now in the White House, the money that was made over the last 10, 12 years.
And they won't say what that meeting that Hunter Biden arranged with his father and Yelena Baturina and her husband, an oligarch, she's the richest woman in all of Russia, at Cafe Milano in Georgetown.
In a private room.
Yeah. There's some question as to whether Yelena was actually there, but her husband was certainly there. But the White House won't even talk about that. Look, there's no question that Joe Biden was involved in this, either tacitly or directly. All right. And law professor Jonathan Turley has, for months and months, been arguing that there needs to be a special counsel because the conflict of interest is rather obvious. Here's a soundbite from Jonathan Turley. Take a listen.
Yes, the question is why the Justice Department hasn't considered the appointment of special counsel. Even we know there's a criminal investigation going on into the tax issues, possible money laundering, but there's also serious questions about whether the Biden family conducted an extensive influence peddling operation involving not just Hunter, but his uncle and potentially the President of the United States. And what a special counsel can do is produce a report. And we're really in a position where we need an independent report to be done.
All right, so here's the problem. There's a grand jury. It's being conducted by the U.S. attorney who reports to the Justice Department, right? He's an employee of the Justice Department. The Justice Department is run by Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, who is a political appointee who reports to Joe Biden and beholden to Joe Biden. And, notwithstanding what some law professors think, Biden can direct the Department of Justice to do something or not do something. I was struck by an interview Hunter Biden gave, and I want to get your final thoughts on all of this as we wrap up. Right after the election, in which he expressed his relief that his father had won because he had feared that he would be prosecuted if his father had lost. That tells me that Hunter Biden has a get-out-of-jail-free card from dear old dad. Joe?
Think about who the Attorney General...
And you don't need no motherfucking breaking down for that shit right there. And that's just cut, dry, and straight to the motherfucking point. Because of who his father is. But the big question for me is what's going to happen to the big guy, though, for the shit that he been doing and his parts.
Were under the Obama-Biden administration. Eric Holder, who was smart enough to say, oh yeah, I'm Barack Obama's wingman, unquote, okay, which attorney generals aren't supposed to be the wingman of the president, but okay. Then Loretta Lynch, who met with Bill Clinton on that tarmac in Arizona during an active investigation into Hillary Clinton. So when we hear from Jen Psaki and others in this administration that, oh no, our Justice Department and our executive branch are completely separate and we don't try to influence anything, there's a word I can't use, I think, even on streaming right now, but it starts with
Miranda?
Look, I agree. Look, I think we need to be careful about not over-egging the pudding, not exaggerating the amount of money that the Bidens got from this influence peddling scheme. Hunter is broke now. He had to borrow the $1 million from a kind benefactor to pay this overdue tax bill. The money he had to share, a lot of it with his family. He had to pay for his brother's cancer treatments. I think that one of the businesses, the private equity fund, BHR from China, he had 10% of that, at least until recently, if not now. His lawyer is saying he's divested himself of it, but I don't think that's worth terribly much money. I'm told by, and I've looked at the figures from the 2019 report. And so, I think we're talking about tens of millions of dollars, but Elena Baturina actually invested $118 million.
Right.
Now that money was used to buy real estate. So that was what Rosemont Realty was one of the legitimate businesses. There was some legitimate business being done. So we need to prepare ourselves for all the worst case scenarios that we're thinking of not being as bad as we think. But that does not reduce the culpability of the president. It doesn't matter whether it's $1 or $31 million or $20 million.
Yeah.
It's still the president is aware of, is involved in, is intimately involved in this influence peddling scheme, which in fact he has been running for 40 years since his earliest days in Delaware. It was a family scheme. He internationalized it when he became vice president. So I don't want to get caught up with talking about billions and hundreds of millions of dollars, because I think those numbers are overblown. But it doesn't matter. And similarly, people talk about child porn being on the laptop. It isn't there. I think we need to just confine it to the reality of what we have evidence.
Okay, that right there took me out too, because of all the stories that I have been hearing. I definitely thought that he had child corn, C-O-R-N, corn on the laptop, and so to find out that it wasn't, I'm blown away by that. But it doesn't matter. All the other crimes are still there. Again, just like she said, it doesn't matter how much money was made, because if $1 was made, it's already a crime. So it doesn't matter if billions, millions, the numbers, exact numbers, don't really make a difference. If he was making money with China and Ukraine and all those places, that's not allowed. It's against the law. The president, nobody's allowed to do that.
And the U.S. attorney in Delaware has probably done that. Prosecutors of his quality are usually very focused, and they constantly remind their line prosecutors, just stick to the evidence, just stick to the facts, what's provable, what we know.
Yeah. And just to the point, if it's only $30 million and Joe Biden is taking 10% of that, that's still $3 million. Right. We're still talking about a lot of money. Again, it might not be $500 million, it may not be $1 billion, but the context, that's a lot of cash. One last point. I mean, if you look at the Mueller investigation with the Russia hoax, that happened because there was incredible media attention and political pressure that was ginned up by all the media to make that happen. And it turned out to be a dud. Without media coverage today, without the media, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, ABC, the New York Times, all of them pushing to say, we got to have zero politics in this. We have to get to the truth. They're never going to appoint a special counsel and do an investigation that doesn't involve politics. It won't happen. Only political pressure will give that to us, and the left-wing media will not put that pressure on the Justice Department.
The media spent 3 years stating as absolute fact that Donald Trump was engaged in a collusion conspiracy with Russia. He didn't admit he was wrong. Then they spent the last 17 months saying that the laptop is inauthentic, it's Russian disinformation, it doesn't incriminate anybody. They've been wrong about that. You would think the media would get really tired of being wrong all the time, but it's worse than being wrong. I think it's being malevolent. Joe Concha, Miranda Devine, Sean Duffy, thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. That wraps up our time here. Thank you for joining us for Who is Hunter Biden Live. Special thanks again to my panel, Miranda, Sean, Joe, for being here on the set. For more, you can stream all of season 1 of Who is Hunter Biden right now, only on Fox Nation. It doesn't stop there. Stay tuned for season 2, dropping in. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Greg Jarrett. Have a good day.
All right, yeah, that was okay. So here's.
I hope y'all hanging in there with me. Like I said, I know this is a long one.
I'm glad you guys are hanging out.
It's not the ratchet shit, that I'm usually showing, but it's still ratchet. This is the most ratchet shit I ever seen. So, I'm going to lose some people on this. I know I'm going to lose some people on here. But for those that are able, I hope that you catching this dart right here and understanding that the world is a motherfucking stage. Believe half of what you see and none of what you motherfucking hear. Everything can be created. So I question everything, the news, all that. So I don't even know. You probably ain't gonna make it, but I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna finish it. But yeah, this shit is crazy. So for the replay gang, please talk your shit in the comments. Like, just let me know for those that appreciate it, that understand. Let me know your feedback. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions on this whole shit, everything you're seeing.
Hope eventually everybody gets to see this. I hope everybody understands what's going on.
Joke online, which says, "Where's Hunter?"
You would think he might lay a little bit low. He's doing the exact opposite.
He seems to be living high on hog. He's driving around in a Porsche. He's living in a Malibu beautiful house that costs $20,000 a month to rent.
Hunter Biden.
I don't think people are gonna come back. Like, I don't think people are gonna sit and watch the parts. Like, I think if people sit and watch maybe even the first part, they may not come back and watch the other parts. Like, once they see him smoking crack and all that shit, you know, a lot of people just gonna be like, oh, blown away by that shit, just to be able to see that shit alone, you know. And you know, so all the other shit about the legal shit and, you know, the breaking down of all the conspiracy that's and going on and the manipulation that's going on, all that, a lot of people ain't gonna be sitting for that. So I'm gonna try and get as much of it in as I can right now. If I don't get every single bit, you know, down to the very last drop, but I'm gonna try and get most of it in right now. Like, you know, I'm still blown away. Like, I'm still blown away as I'm watching right now. So I'm in there. I don't believe none of this shit still.
He's been hanging out in Beverly Hills, going to coffee shops, spending time with his baby son, Bo. It seems like he's having a lovely time. You might not realize that he's under federal investigation.
For the first
Replay gang, you know what it is.
time, we're starting to see real sort of meat on the bones of what's being looked at.
Suspected money laundering, illegal foreign lobbying, tax fraud.
Suddenly you see the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, and all these left-leaning media outlets, they suddenly say, oh, the laptop's real.
You know, you can deny something for a very long time. Eventually, the truth can't be denied.
White House is aware that a tidal wave
I'm gonna give it as long as I can, so that's all I can say. I'll give it as long as I can.
is about to hit them.
Not online, this can be proved a long time because things are clear.
This is important for the people that they don't want to know this shit, It's important for the people that would never see this shit, to see this shit. So as much as I know that people not going to like running to see it, for even the few people that see it, that's when I'm doing it, you know.
A few months ago, Fox Nation released my blockbuster investigative series, Who is Hunter Biden? If you haven't watched it, you should. It was the first documentary to dive deep into Hunter's notorious laptop from hell, which other news organizations still dismissed as a Russian hoax. Nobody now seriously thinks the laptop is fake, and even more people are asking, who is Hunter Biden? Meantime, ongoing investigations keep uncovering first family secrets. So there's plenty you haven't heard about the illegal drugs, the grifts and the graft, the debauched sex and brazen lies. In this new series, we frame the sordid saga through the people closest to the troubled Hunter. You can decide for yourself who enabled him, who exploited him, who tried to save him, and who just went along on the crazy ride. We begin with the women Hunter loved and the tragic story of his mother and sister Nelia and Naomi. It was a calamity that horrified a nation.
In 1972, Joe Biden was elected senator, and during this period, his wife, 2 sons, and baby daughter were in a car accident. The wife was killed, the baby daughter was killed, the 2 sons, Hunter and Bo, were injured seriously. It was just a terrible thing to happen.
Hunter traces many of his struggles with addiction back to the accident.
Our family remained a beautiful, if reconfigured composition. One that was born out of tragedy and rearranged by an overwhelming desire to make sure it's always gone.
The outpouring of sympathy for the young widower also made Joe Biden a national name. The story hardly needed embellishment, but in what would become a pattern to Biden's career, he added details that made it more compelling. On 2 public occasions, he claimed the truck driver was drunk. In fact, police didn't even determine the driver was at fault. If anything, Nelia Biden had caused the wreck, and she had been holding Naomi at the time. The driver's daughter lying about the accident. Joe Biden married Jill Jacobs in 1977, 3 years after. They say they met on a blind date. Jill Biden's ex-husband disputes that. He says they met in 1970 and started an affair before Jill was even divorced. Up until the two married, Joe's sister, mother, and brother looked after the Biden boys while Joe commuted from Delaware to Capitol Hill. But from the time Hunter was 7 years old, he called Jill Biden Mom. Hunter's laptop, however, hints at a degree of resentment toward Jill that lasted well into his adulthood.
And then Jill came along and she saved our life. No man deserves one great.
Hunter wrote a note slamming his father for those remarks. He felt differently about Jill's role.
Uncle Jimmy is my best friend, and Aunt Val is my mother. Every time over the last 30 years you say she saved our lives with Aunt Val standing right next to you and never mention her, I feel like grabbing the mic and saying, you shall.
Jill gave Hunter a sister, Ashley, in 1981. Ashley Biden makes several appearances in the laptop from hell that Hunter Biden abandoned at a Delaware computer repair shop in 2019. Hunter's sister, 10 years younger, often seems the most sensible adult in the family.
I love you. This is about as traumatic as it gets. I am literally just holding on and supporting your children through this. The only thing that will help at all is if you get sober. I would do anything for you, but not like this.
The interesting thing about Ashley and Hunter's relationship is that she really cared for him a lot, it seemed. And so she would try to intervene when his life was really off the rails, and she would give him advice.
But it turns out that she had her own serious problems with addiction.
I didn't come visit because I was under the impression you weren't sober. And I need to stay sober. It's the most important thing in my life these days.
Ashley's transgressions are not comparable to today's weather.
The current weather is 59 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly clear skies.
Now, this is Biden's daughter. So not only is Hunter a junkie, so is the daughter.
Guys, tonight you can look for cloudy skies with a low of 50 degrees.
But, she has a very long history of drug addiction and drug use.
When she was in university, Tulane, she was arrested for underage drinking. She's had a marijuana arrest as well. And there was a 2009 video that wasn't verified, but it was alleged that it depicted her snorting cocaine at a party.
Ashley, like Hunter, had drug issues even at high school, but that continued for her into adulthood through her marriage, and as recently as 2019, when Joe Biden was campaigning to be president, she was in and out of rehab.
In 1992, a year after he graduated from Georgetown University, Hunter Biden met Kathleen Buell.
Hunter met Kathleen at a Jesuit camp. They had a whirlwind romance.
Now, we're getting Kathleen's side of the story. She recently published a new book, If We Break. In it, Kathleen describes a case of love at first sight, or at least something close.
Despite the longish hair and his ripped up jeans, he carried himself with the elegance of a movie star. We walked the city for hours holding hands. For the first time in my life, I believed that I might actually be beautiful and smart and unique, all because he said so.
Within a few dates, they were planning their future together. She actually asked him to marry her. She was pregnant at the time, but says she didn't know until later.
I couldn't overcome my deep fear that the Biden's friends and family would think Hunter and I had only gotten married because I was pregnant. I felt I couldn't tell anyone the truth, so I hid the pregnancy in Delaware until after I was married.
Kathleen says Hunter told her he'd been arrested in a cocaine bust as a teenager, but she doesn't mention knowing that he'd smoked crack his senior year in college, just months before meeting him.
People who knew them in Washington, D.C. in those early days said that Hunter was a nice guy. He and his wife were really on the social pages a lot. They would go to a lot of functions, and to all intents and purposes, they were a successful Washington, D.C. power couple and happily married. But they were demons.
In her book, Kathleen says she dismissed Hunter's early drug bust as teenage experimenting. And it wasn't until later in their marriage that she saw her husband's drinking spiral from social to problematic.
One Saturday morning, when we had friends visiting for the weekend, Hunter walked into the kitchen looking as if he hadn't gone to sleep. I was making pancakes as I watched him pull a bottle of Jack Daniels out of the cabinet. "Hunter, what are you doing?" I said. "It's 10 a.m. I don't think he knew what time it was, and he still seemed drunk. He laughed and put the bottle back. We all stared, speechless and uncomfortable, as he walked out of the room.
At the time, he was, by his own admission, a hardcore crack addict who frequented the most dangerous drug bazaars in cities around the country to get his fix. Kathleen claimed she didn't know.
The extent to which Hunter deceived Kathleen is mind-boggling. And it's really sad when you see side by side Kathleen's emails and letters to him, pleading for him to, get clean and come back to the family.
"I'm ready for you to come home. You are in my thoughts every day."
For all Hunter's faults, he was a better father than Joe, Kathleen assured him.
"Don't ever question whether you were as good a father as your dad. You were better in every way."
Meantime, Hunter's treatment of his wife was brutal.
"Kathleen, you are the dumbest person I've ever met," he sneered at me. I got out of the car shaking, holding the thing in the darkened garage. I believed my husband hated me.
What a scumbag.
I walked toward the exit and he followed me, repeating the whole way, "You think you're so perfect. You're an idiot."
Despite the harsh treatment, Kathleen carried the burden of Hunter's secrets.
"You cannot tell anyone." By now, this caveat of mine automatically came after anything having to do with the Bidens. You cannot tell anyone.
When it came to 2016, things all fell apart. It seems like Beau Biden, Hunter's brother's death from brain cancer in 2015 really set him on a downward spiral. He was set off into drugs, alcohol, prostitutes.
It seemed Kathleen could do little more than keep tabs on her husband. He continued to go off the deep end.
I called and texted Hunter.
"I told you so. Hunter is the gift that's going to keep on giving and giving. And then he's going to give some more. Give me some more. Give me some more." In the words of the great Busta Rhymes.
Impulsively. From my computer at my desk, I watched his every move. There were charges at Lake Tahoe, at a nail salon, and a charge for 2 lift tickets. I found a credit card charge for $10,000 at a hot tub store in Los Angeles. I found hundreds at liquor stores and strip clubs. And the whole time, he kept telling me that he was healthy and sober and that I was a crazy person.
She accused him in emails of cheating on her, she accused him of starting up a romantic relationship with Bo's widow, Hallie, which in fact was the case. And she divorced Hunter.
Kathleen writes about learning of her husband's infidelity from her daughters.
We found his phone, Finnegan said. There were text messages between them, Naomi added. I could see Finnegan's face relaxing now that the secret was out and I was okay. I hadn't fallen apart. If anything, I felt a strange sense of vindication. Crazy, but it was so much worse than I could have imagined. I was shocked, but not heartbroken. Heartbreak had already flattened my self-esteem that past year.
She went on to email Hunter.
I'm leaving you because you're having an affair and you've been emotionally abusive. I forgave you for cheating before. I tried to help you get sober, and you made it clear throughout the past year that you didn't want to be with me. You didn't want my forgiveness, and you didn't want my help with your recovery.
Right to the end, until she realized how many lies Hunter had been telling her, she was boundlessly compassionate about his drug problems, and she always tried to get him into new programs and tried to sort of exert tough love on him and try and help him to kick the habit. But he really seemed not very interested in doing that. He was just had this rampant sex and drug addiction.
Once their divorce was finalized, Kathleen's final act of closure was to change her last name.
When we were in the middle of our divorce, Hunter often taunted me about having kept the Biden name. Are you enjoying your last name? The idea that somehow I wasn't entitled to the name that had been mine for 24 years hurt me in a deep and personal way. It was as if he wanted to erase all evidence of our marriage. It felt like a slap.
As Kathleen embarked on a new journey with her old name, Hunter embarked on a journey of rampant sex and drug addiction that would be satisfied, at least for a while, by another member of the Biden family, his brother's widow.
Hallie was this very pretty, sort of sexy brunette who was the daughter of a dry cleaner in Wilmington, Delaware. Hallie was a few years younger than Kathleen, and Kathleen was a very reserved, sort of dignified woman, whereas Hallie was someone who really wore her heart on her sleeve and had a lot of friends, liked to drink, and was a bit of a party girl. There wasn't a lot of respect there for Hallie from the beginning, is the impression you get. But she won Bo's heart, and they were married, and they had two gorgeous little kids.
Kathleen writes of her early relationship with Hallie.
She and I had very different personalities, but we made an effort to be close. She was strong-willed and opinionated, and I admired her ability to get what she wanted. As the years went by, she would become a trusted friend, someone I turned to often when I worried about Hunter.
When Bo died in 2015 of brain cancer, Hallie was totally distraught by that. You can see it. She was broken. And the story that Hunter tells is that he was there as emotional support for her, that they were supporting each other. And that's where the relationship that happened between them came from.
The way they described it was two really damaged souls grieving terribly for this wonderful man, you know, the brother and the husband. And they fell into each other's arms because nobody else could understand the pain they were feeling. And you can sort of understand that sort of the throes of passion that they were in to try and escape the pain of losing Bo. So their life was just in turmoil after Bo's death. They were just, you know, having sex, filming porn, and doing crack.
Unbelievable.
What a life. Having sex, filming porn, and smoking crack. What a life. The president made such a great way for us Americans.
It seems the son of the sitting vice president videos with his sister-in-law on the public site Pornhub.
Imagine being a porn star and you don't get paid. Imagine.
tagged some posts, lonely widow. But soon the relationship began to fray.
It's a roller coaster. At times he's saying she's the love of his life. He's saying that she's the only one who really understands him because they share this grief for both. But at other times they seem to hate each other. There are these tempestuous fights over text message, conversations on the phone where they are arguing with each other.
Okay, I don't know. I think we should schedule a visit and we'll talk with the therapist. I'm not going to continue to argue, and I don't want to talk and make things worse.
Look at him go. Such a talented young man.
There's a lot of paranoia, and I think a lot of it might have been drug related. He would be checking her phone logs. He would be secretly recording her.
No, I'm not going to be quiet, Alec, because there's no one in this house. And you're not being yelled at. I'm talking the way I was. Please be quiet and listen. Stop.
Evidence found on the laptop shows Hunter frequently extracted Hallie's phone data and voicemails. Despite all the drama, Hunter and Hallie convinced a reluctant Joe and Jill to issue a statement of support for the couple.
We're all lucky that Hunter and Hallie found each other as they were putting their lives together again after such sadness. They have mine and Jill's full and complete support, and we are happy for them.
Hunter also issued a statement that really crushed Kathleen.
Hallie and I are incredibly lucky to have found the love and support we have for each other in such a difficult time. And that's been obvious to the people who love us most. We've been so lucky to have family and friends who have supported us every step of the way. That was the statement from Hunter Biden. They were lucky, supported every step of the way. No mention of the family he'd left behind. As I drove home, the statement played over and over in my head. Why hadn't he at least warned us?
Another family member refused to bless the relationship.
Behind the scenes, texts between Ashley and Hunter on Hunter's laptop show that she was extremely critical of the people that Hunter was spending time with, Hallie Biden in particular.
I will never look at Hallie again. She's truly the most selfish, self-absorbed, idiotic woman I know.
It seems that Ashley blames Hallie, in fact, for enabling Hunter. I don't know if that's the case, but that's certainly Ashley's opinion that comes out through these text messages.
The only hope is for you to get sober, and we will go from there. And tell Hallie to stay far away from me. Look at all the crap she has caused for this family.
Hunter and Hallie's relationship was completely dysfunctional from the beginning. It wasn't just the drugs, it was the emotional manipulation. Hunter seemed to be so needy and demanding from her some indication that he was better than Bo. And she never would give it to him.
You say I'm not my brother and never will be. You tell people I got you addicted. You make a fool of me. Shame me for wanting you. And every time I crawl back.
I'm only saying anyone's view of you is on you, not on me.
In 2018, a frustrated Hunter accused Hallie of throwing his gun in a garbage can at a shopping center near a school.
She stole my gun out of my truck lockbox and threw it in a garbage can full to the top at Jansen's. Then told me it was my problem to deal with. Then when the police, the FBI, the Secret Service came on the scene, she said she took it from me because she was scared I would harm myself due to my drug and alcohol problem and our volatile relationship.
In text recovered by the Washington Examiner, Hallie rebukes Hunter's safety claims.
It was her.
Hunter snapped back.
There are 5 guns in Dad's house. There are more weapons in your son's room than in an armory.
The episode could potentially put Hunter in legal jeopardy because to buy the gun, he apparently lied about his drug use on the federal Form 4473. That's an offense punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Secret Service agents reportedly tried to take the document from the dealer.
Getting rid of the loophole.
allows a gun sale to go through after 3 business days, even if the background check has not been completed.
The incident has received amplified attention amid Joe Biden's recent calls for tougher gun laws. Hunter and Hallie's relationship didn't last, but believe it or not, after their breakup, Hunter's love life would get even more complicated. In our next episode, Hunter and Hallie's sister, plus a parade of other women for the drug-crazed ladies' man.
Look at him. He looks like a bag of shit for real. Oh, man. He fucked up for the family, man. Imagine a crackhead who talks and tells everything on his fucking phone, getting caught and in trouble. Now the whole goddamn family got to go down. Thanks a lot, Hunter. Oh, man. Luckily, Joe's about 1,000 years old, so there's only so much they can do to Joe. Here we go.
Family. That's been the Biden credo during their half-century in the public eye. But Hunter's family life was complicated to an extent few could believe were it not for the laptop. It's filled with photos, videos, and text exchanges documenting relationships with scores of women. Who is Hunter Biden? We told you about his affair with his sister-in-law, Hallie. Wait till you hear about Hallie's sister, Liz.
Liz is Hallie's older sister, and she's blonde where Hallie's brunette, but they're very similar looks. And she's, a married mother of...
Let's bring on another family member. Here comes another sister. Da, 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 da.
Couple of kids, and they're social friends. And then Hunter and Liz have this bizarre, quite intimate relationship, which starts off with text messages where Hunter is just complaining about Hallie.
She is truly a selfish, self-serving egomaniac that hurt me profoundly, and I want nothing to do with her anymore.
She loves you, but her love doesn't meet your needs. It makes me sad for the both of you.
But then it gets sexual.
There are an incredible series of text messages that were really quite shocking when I found them on the laptop. It's an incredible shift from not only setting up a relationship with his brother's widow, but then with her sister.
We should shower together by FaceTime every morning or night when we're up at 3. Stress relief. I'll teach you how to masturbate.
Liz also referred to Hunter as her prince and told him she loved him.
Don't be silly. You're my only prince. I'm totally coming back for you. I'm at house alone for the next 24 hours. Call me. Love you so much.
The relationship continues to develop, it seems, because in 2018, he actually purchases a lease on a house with her. So it's unclear how long their romantic relationship lasted, but certainly this was a source of serious intrigue in the Biden family.
And just when you think Hunter's woman woes couldn't get any weirder, there's an update on the kindly homeless crack dealer whom Hunter said he loved as much as any friend he's ever loved.
Not bicycles. It can't be bicycles.
Hunter says her name is Rhea, but he nicknamed her Bicycles because he always found her in one of DC's drug bazaars astride her oversized mountain bike. He first met Bicycles during his college years at Georgetown and reunited with her 2 decades later when he was grieving over the 2015 death of his brother Bo.
He spins this tale of this homeless woman who he met back in the 1990s when he was senior at Georgetown. He says that she was the first person he ever bought crack cocaine from. She became one of the closest friends he's ever had, that he put her up in his apartment. and they had this strong friendship where he was going through a very tough period. It was in the real depths of his crack addiction, and formed this bond with her.
While his father was vice president, he invited bicycles to move in with him at his apartment blocks from the White House. They would spend their days smoking crack.
I spent a couple of $1,000s on crack in those first 2 weeks, with Rita serving as my conduit.
She was everything a crack addict could want his dealer to be.
Every time they say smoking crack, it's just something about it when people not in the ghetto say it. I love it.
Honest days smoking crack.
I spent a couple of $1,000s on crack in those first 2 weeks, with Rita serving as my conduit.
She was everything a crack addict could want his dealer to be. Honest, kindly, and sage. She never tried to rip him off, only reluctantly sold him the drug and taught him how to smoke it right.
We just planted ourselves on the couch and smoked a ton of crack for endless hours, day after day. It was the same numbing ritual, over and over and over. Pipe, chore boy, crack, light.
During this time, Kathleen sat at home, wondering if her husband had relapsed.
What are you talking about, Kathleen? He'd answer with aggravation. I'm tired. Why can't you understand that? Why are you making me feel like I've done something wrong?
You sensed there had to be more to the bicycle story. The Daily Mail found there indeed was.
Me and my colleagues managed to track her down, and she tells a very different story. She says that she was just his cleaner, that she never stayed in his house, that half of the things he said about her weren't true. Hunter also said in his memoir that Bicycles had these two sons. One of them was serving life in prison, and the other was on death row. She said that that was entirely fabricated. It seems like Hunter's tried to paint this image of himself as a very generous person and having this heartwarming relationship, albeit it's an unlikely relationship with this woman. And she says that, in fact, he's just trying to make money off her story in his book.
Text messages on the laptop seemed to corroborate Bicycle's account. She constantly reached out to Hunter for help, and he rarely responded. When he did, it was with hasty and harsh language.
You could have heard me out.
No, I can't.
I'll give you my word. If not, you can block my number.
Shut up. Can't talk. Stop calling.
Bicycles wasn't the only love Hunter left in the lurch. Another was a woman who bore his child, London Roberts.
There's a very interesting story about London Roberts that at first was told in the media, that she was a stripper at a DC club that Hunter frequented, that he knocked her up in one fling one night, and that he had no recollection of it. But it turned out that she was actually an employee at his firm, Rosemont Seneca.
While her role is unknown, Hunter's assistant confirmed she was on staff, along with his other flame sister-in-law, Hallie, and her sister, Liz.
And just for clarification, who is payroll paid to now and for the past 9 months?
Past 9 months has been you, me, London, Hallie, Liz, and Aaron.
She and Hunter had a relationship that went on for at least several months. You can see that on the laptop where, for instance, he used to smuggle her into his office building in the House of Sweden in Georgetown through the back door at night. And we know that because there were complaints from other people in the building that Hunter was using that emergency exit to bring in drug dealers and to bring in his mistress, London Roberts. This was during the period that he was supposedly living with Hallie Biden, his sister-in-law.
When people ask questions, Hunter dropped some big names.
I had phoned ahead to let security know that my youngest daughter's basketball mentor, she worked out with Maisie and Sasha Obama when they played in a rec league together.
Whether London Roberts was actually a basketball coach, stripper, or a legitimate employee of Hunter's at Rosemont Seneca, we do know one thing for sure. She became pregnant with his child.
She gives him the due date of the baby, and he never responds. And then 3 months after the baby's born, he texts his assistant asking her to make sure that the medical insurance has been stripped from this woman.
London's removal doesn't jeopardize insurance.
Hunter's assistant, Katie Dodge, confirmed pulling Roberts off the medical insurance wouldn't risk his own health care.
She eventually ends up suing him for child support. He denies ever having impregnated her. He claims that it's not his child.
He basically pretended in his memoir that he really didn't know her. He said it was sort of a chance encounter and that he was, on drugs at the time, and he can't even remember this one sexual encounter that they had. And that's just not true.
It's only until there's a DNA test that proves it that he finally admits it. But then he says that he can't afford to pay the child support. And this is while he's staying in a $12,000 a month rented apartment in Hollywood, while he's driving a Porsche around and seemingly having a really nice life. The judge orders him to show his financial records, and that's when he decides to settle out of court for a reported $2.5 million.
How Hunter afforded any of it is a mystery. His ex-wife Kathleen detailed the reality of his fiscal irresponsibility during their marriage.
We didn't have any savings. Both of our houses had a double mortgage and no equity. We had credit card debt and medical bills. We were in terrible financial shape. The sheer amount of our debt overwhelmed me. We owed as much for both houses as when we bought them. We were underwater.
Regardless, Hunter paid his settlement and Roberts named their daughter Navy. Hunter still doesn't acknowledge her, nor does his family.
It's very sad that in his memoir, Beautiful Things, where he just dismisses her as being a one-off encounter, he also, on the flap jacket, talks about his children, his 3 daughters and his son with his latest wife, Melissa, but he never mentions the daughter that he had with London Roberts.
So now it is a granddaughter of Joe Biden. It's someone that Joe Biden doesn't acknowledge as a granddaughter. A good question to ask Joe Biden is how many grandchildren does he have?
But they might not be able to hide her from
a whole deadbeat dad and a whole deadbeat granddad. How you got an illegitimate grandchild out here? You're the fucking president. What the fuck? What the soft white under what the Jerry Spring?
Much longer as the federal investigation into Hunter Biden heats up.
London actually showed up in Delaware to testify to the grand jury. It seems like they were asking her questions about Rosemont Seneca, about Hunter's business dealings that she may have been aware of, and also they subpoenaed all of the documents in her case against him, Hunter's financial records, the paternity test even. It seems like federal prosecutors are very interested in his relationship with her, his finances in relation to her, and what she knew about his dealings with her.
Caroline Biden is the daughter of Uncle Jim Biden, who's Joe Biden's younger brother, who's involved with Hunter in all these dodgy dealings with China. And Caroline is sort of a Paris Hilton lookalike. She's got very expensive tastes. She loves the high life. And she's also in and out of drug rehab. She gets into trouble with the law quite a bit. Her first run-in with the law came in 2013 when, according to the New York Post, Caroline went on a violent rampage after her roommate confronted her about unpaid rent. The police end up coming and carting her out. She's sort of in a chair and she's dressed like a mummy. She's put a sheet over her face so that the cameras can't see her because, of course, all the paparazzi are there because there's always dramas around Caroline Biden.
5 years later, Caroline ran into trouble again, and of all people, her father reaches out to Hunter.
In 2018, Jim Biden is trying to get Caroline, his daughter, back on the straight and narrow. She's just had this issue in court where she's been accused of stealing a credit card and spending thousands of dollars on it. And Jim texts Hunter asking him if he can help.
I need help with Caroline. She's off the rails.
Hunter is in California. He's living in Malibu. He's basically on a long-term crack bender. And of all people, Uncle Jim asks Hunter to babysit Caroline because she has to stay clean and stay out of trouble before her court date in New York. So Hunter agrees, and Caroline flies across and stays with him.
Hunter, however, felt put out.
I'm babysitting my 32-year-old cousin before she has to go to her sentencing hearing in New York City.
But Hunter didn't need to worry about Caroline crimping his style.
Caroline absolutely hero worships Hunter.
You're the only one preventing me from being in a loony bin. Your dad thinks you're a good influence, which you are.
And at this stage, Hunter has just been blackballed from Chateau Marmont for drug use. And he's been banned from there, and he's absolutely furious about it. He cannot believe that of all the hotels in the world, the very loose Chateau Marmont would blackball him. So Caroline says, well, I'll do anything for you. You know, I'll go and burn it down if you like.
The laptop even suggests Caroline procured women to Hunter's ethnic specifications.
Do you want foreign or domestic? I can't give you effing Asian, sorry. I'm not doing it.
Domesticated foreigner is fine. No yellow.
Asian Americans feeling unsafe, unwanted, and some of you indicated feeling invisible sometimes.
This is a really important time. When Joe Biden was making statements about Asian hate and...
Imagine, let's not imagine it because it's disgusting, but you see that his fucking niece getting him fucking prostitutes and shit, picking out, you know, what they look like and shit. That's just a little bit too all in the family for me. That's a little bit too motherfucking close.
how much of a problem it is in America. And his own son is making these racist-seeming comments in a text message with his cousin. Things that can't really be written off as banter.
It wasn't the only time Hunter used questionable language.
There's other things that Hunter has texted. He was having a joking conversation with his lawyer, and he uses the N-word multiple times. He hasn't responded to our questions about it. He hasn't said whether it was said in jest, but even if it was, a white man using the N-word is just a total no-go. You should not do that. And yet Hunter does multiple times. He raises questions about what he really feels about people of other races.
Hunter's mentoring doesn't appear to have steered Caroline down a more responsible path.
At the time, she'd also just turned down an $85,000 job that Jim was helping to arrange for her. It seemed like she was off the rails, and Hunter's role was meant to be to bring her back in line.
Your dad told me he was done with me yesterday. You work at Coke and Starbucks, but I'm the untrustworthy black sheep. There's zero place for me anywhere.
Meanwhile, she avoided jail time by securing a plea deal in 2018 for petty larceny instead of a felony charge in the credit card scam case where she racked up over $100,000 in charges. She also pled guilty to a DUI in a separate incident.
She had a DUI where she crashed her car into a tree, and she was ordered by the judge to go to rehab after that.
But again, no jail time.
She was facing felony fraud charges, but then there was a deal that was negotiated and that got knocked down, and she pled and she went into therapy of some sort. She's just benefited from a lot of family connections.
It was during Hunter's wild period in Los Angeles that he fell for his current wife, 35-year-old South African filmmaker Melissa Cohen.
Hunter met Melissa Cohen just after he abandoned his laptop in Delaware in 2019. He was back in LA on a drug bender, in and out of various hotels there, and he was introduced to her by mutual friends. And their first date, he said it was love at first sight, and he told her he loved her, and he also told her that he was a drug addict.
Just as Hunter and Kathleen experienced a whirlwind romance, Melissa said she loved him too. The couple married within 6 weeks of meeting each other.
The decision never felt rash or harebrained or reckless. It felt urgent. I felt like I'd been given a reprieve.
He phones Joe Biden and he says, hey, guess what? I'm getting married. They were married in her apartment, just a civil ceremony.
I think it must have been quite the roller coaster for her, because just 2 weeks after they were married, still probably on their honeymoon, when Hunter's baby mama, London Roberts, filed for child support unpaid in a Arkansas court.
Hunter and Melissa had their own son in April 2020 and named him Beau. Shortly after, the laptop from hell was made public. Melissa repeated the line laid down by more than 50 former intelligence experts, including former CIA directors John Brennan, Leon Panetta, General Michael Hayden, John McLaughlin, and Michael Morrell. The laptop was Russian disinformation aimed at derailing Joe Biden's presidential campaign.
The only time we really heard from Melissa was when Hunter had his art show in Soho in 2021, and she was asked about the laptop by a passing reporter, and she said, "Oh, it's not true. None of that's true." But apart from that, she's been behaving in a curious way.
She was spotted down in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil at a charity event, hopping down to the beach there with a huge Secret Service detail of 6 SUVs. They're currently living in Malibu in a beautiful house overlooking the ocean with a mansion next door to house all of the Secret Service agents who are looking after them.
We saw her again by herself eating at Nobu near their place in Malibu, very expensive restaurant. And this is at a time when we're told that Hunter is so broke that he had to borrow $1 million from a kind LA benefactor to pay back his overdue tax bill to try and get out of these problems that he has with the Delaware U.S. attorney. She doesn't speak much, but in her actions this year, she seems to be speaking volumes as sort of a woman alone and a woman who's determined to have fun, despite the fact that the walls are closing in on Hunter.
Hunter's personal relationships were filled with drugs, booze, and betrayal. But when it came to business, Hunter's lies didn't just involve the person across the table. The more important question, did he sell out the American people? Hunter's laptop shows how he and his partners sold the Biden name, colorful cast of characters who filled his bank account and fueled his out-of-control lifestyle. So who is Hunter Biden? You can tell a lot about a man by the company he keeps. An indispensable cog in the Biden money machine is Hunter's Uncle Jim.
Are you Mr. Jim Biden? I wanted to ask you about the China deal.
Would you please stop bothering me?
James Biden is Joe Biden's brother. He is often in the background on a number of Hunter deals that appear in the hard drive.
He's always in the background, but he plays a pivotal role.
the Biden family put Joe on a pedestal. He was the oldest boy. He was the one who went to the private Archmere Academy while his brothers Jim and Frank went to the local public school. And Jim never went to university. He was a sort of a nightclub impresario for a little while, unsuccessfully, and ended up just working for Joe's campaign. And really, he's ridden on his brother's coattails ever since.
It's unclear what Jim Biden brings to the table in terms of business savvy.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin conducted an investigation into what he calls Biden Inc. And Jim Biden's name came up time and time again.
He may be the original grifter. He's been involved using the Biden name, peddling influence probably for decades. This has been hiding in plain sight, but the media has completely ignored it because they wanted Joe Biden to be president.
When Hunter graduated from college, Jim welcomed him into the family business.
Hunter has then been involved in the family influence peddling operation, which Jim and Joe had been running since Joe's earliest days as a senator in Delaware. And so Hunter becomes the front man, the bag man, you could call him, getting these jobs with Joe's Delaware donors at inflated prices and going into business with Uncle Jim at one point in an investment bank in New York that they bought, which fell apart.
Before their hedge fund cratered, Jim reportedly boasted, "Don't worry about investors. We've got people all around the world who want to invest in Joe Biden."
Why people believe that Hunter Biden, with no background in finance, and James Biden, with little background in finance, could run a hedge fund, who knows? But things quickly went sideways.
While the business duo's first major venture failed, Jim would try again.
He's always wanted to be rich. He has a rich lifestyle, lives in a very expensive house on the Philadelphia main line, and has sort of his fortunes have ebbed and flowed according to, really Joe Biden's power.
Documents on the laptop from hell suggest that at some point, Hunter became Biden Inc.'s lead deal maker with Jim's second banana. Hunter was wheeling and dealing, though even his wife at the time, Kathleen, admits she didn't understand how the money was made.
He started many ventures, exploring partnership with class action attorneys, co-founding a broker-dealer business and a real estate investment fund, and then a technology company. I didn't understand any of it, or what pieces of his business actually generated income for us. We were worried that we lived above our means, but I did nothing to change it.
But Jim knew the score.
Jim is constantly contacting Hunter. You can see this in emails on the laptop. He's trying to get involved in all of Hunter's business deals that he knows about. He's constantly pitching ideas and taking money from Hunter.
Jim's urgent pleas reveal a financial Wire Act in which the Bidens come under greater and greater pressure to pay past due obligations while ever more business and personal bills flood in.
Hunter is the one who is the front man for these deals, and he then wires tens of thousands of dollars to Jim Biden regularly. And when he's ever late with, the latest $60,000 payment, Jim's on his case immediately.
I have to pay Nick's summer school, plus first semester, plus housing for the year. Will we be paid on the first?
No surprise to the Biden family, finances became chaotic with a basket case like Hunter in charge. For long stretches, he holed up in hotel rooms cooking crack and entertaining prostitutes. Even so, Hunter felt underappreciated and bitter that he had to kick up so much cash to his father, Joe.
I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard. But don't worry, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary.
Hunter complained about how Joe treated Uncle Jim, too.
Hunter always feels attached to Jim because at a very early age, when his mother died, Joe went off to become a senator in Washington. Hunter and his brother both brought up by Auntie Val, Joe's sister, but also Jim Biden played a really important role in his life. And at one point, Hunter rails against his father for not really giving Jim the respect that he deserves and the acknowledgement of what a great role that he played in Hunter's upbringing.
I'll make it the last time, and you can ignore it, or I hope acknowledge that the 3 people on Earth who have lived their lives in service to you concluded for their own reasons that you have finally crossed the line, that we won't be publicly and privately humiliated. Uncle Jim is my best friend, and Aunt Val is my mother.
Hunter's nasty grams to his dad underscore Jim's crucial role in the Biden family.
It's almost as if Jim plays the intermediary between Joe and Hunter, because Joe and Hunter's relationship gets quite fraught at times, and Joe can't deal with Hunter.
How's it going with your dad? 1 to 10. 10 best.
7.
Hang in there, my in one day.
When Hunter went on a bender in Los Angeles, Jim flew in to clean up the mess. As Jim looked after Hunter, Hunter looked after Jim. In perhaps Hunter's most notorious transaction, he made sure his uncle was in on the cut.
One of the biggest deals that Jim Biden was involved in with Hunter was the joint venture with the Chinese oil giant CEFC. Jim was sent, along with his wife, a total of $1.4 million by the Chinese for his work with Hunter. It's unclear what he was adding to the deal in terms of expertise, in terms of advice.
That was 10% for the big guy contract. Nobody ever doubted what Joe brought to the table, but Jim's contributions weren't always apparent to the Bidens' one-time business partner, Tony Bobolinsky.
What is the deal with Jim Biden, as he wasn't part of the discussion but now seems a focal point? What role does Jim see himself playing?
Consultant is what he's offered, as I know. Hunter brought in Jimmy simply to leverage getting more equity for himself and family in the final hour. That is evident.
Jim has refused to answer our questions, so he's not told us what it was exactly that he added to the deal there. And there's a lot of great things that he got out of it, though. You know, among this $1.4 million that he received was a $100,000 line of credit that was spent on restaurants, hotels, airplane flights.
We'll tell you more later about the billionaires on the other side of Hunter's Chinese deals. Suffice to say, Jim continued to rub shoulders for fun and profit with CEFC executives.
At one point, Uncle Jim Biden is traipsing around Manhattan looking at real estate with Director Zhang's wife, and he organizes with the realtor a cut of the commission for his daughter Caroline. And who is that realtor but none other than the very famous Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing.
We reached out to Ryan Serhant for a comment, but he did not get back to us. Whether Biden Inc. raked in cash or hemorrhaged it, one cost of business was fending off investigations. Jim's come to know that as well as anyone in the First family.
Jim's bank records have been subpoenaed by the feds as well as Hunter's.
Lawmakers are also questioning deals Jim made in the Middle East.
I was told by Representative Elise Stefanik, the House GOP conference chairwoman, James Biden worked at a construction company. He was made executive vice president, and then right afterwards, the company was awarded a series of very lucrative housing contracts in Iraq. Again, a very curious, happy turn of fate for this company right after James made executive vice president. And Stefanik herself told me if Republicans take control of the House again, they will investigate. In addition to everything with Hunter, that will also be investigated.
Jim Biden has not been implicated in or accused of any misconduct in connection with his executive vice president role at the construction company. Fox Nation reached out to him hoping to speak about all the issues in this report. He did not respond. Whatever happens, you can always say this about Uncle Jim and his nephew Hunter. It's not just business, it's personal.
He does care for Hunter. He's sort of a guardian angel role is what he plays. He swoops in and picks Hunter up when Hunter's really at a low ebb and dispatches him off to rehab. He's boundlessly patient with Hunter, as he should be, because Hunter is making the money.
One of Hunter's longtime business associates, who also has close ties to his father, is Eric Schwerin.
Eric Schwerin was the president of Rosemont Senate Partners. He is someone who is a ubiquitous presence in the hard drive consistently between 2009 and 2019. He is not the flashiest player by any means, but he is on all the emails. He's everywhere. He is someone who is very, very close to Hunter Biden and to Joe Biden. And I don't just mean professionally close, I mean personally close.
Hunter's ex-wife, Kathleen, remarked on their relationship with Schwerin.
Eric managed almost every aspect of our financial life, so our relationship was an odd one. Born of mutual need, perhaps, but I trusted him.
Schwerin had intimate access to all of Hunter's financial affairs, as well as his father's.
He had access to Joe Biden's tax refund check when Joe Biden was vice president. He moved money between the two Bidens, their bank accounts.
White House visitor logs show that Schwerin made at least 27 visits to the White House and other official venues during Biden's vice presidency, with the description for many meetings left blank.
It's a real privilege for a U.S. citizen to visit a sitting vice president in the White House. I've done it a few times as a United States Senator. Not as often as Hunter Biden's business associate or associates did, but it's just one more piece of evidence that something's amiss here.
Why was the president of Rosemont Seneca Partners, Hunter Biden's investment firm, meeting with Joe Biden in the White House while Joe Biden was vice president? And if you ask the White House, you ask Jen Psaki, I have no answer for this. I don't know.
Do you guys understand why that business partner had access and what those meetings were about?
I don't have any information on that. I'm happy to check and see if there's any more comment.
6 months after Joe was sworn in as vice president, Hunter took Biden Inc. International. Those were uncharted waters for the second son.
He establishes an entity called Rosemont Seneca Partners, and there are a series of offshoot companies as well. And they're going to go into global finance, which is, again, something he has no experience in. He partners with Christopher Hines, who is the stepson of Senator John Kerry, who later becomes the Secretary of State of the United States.
From the start, Hunter and Chris signaled exactly the product they were selling.
They set up shop in Washington, D.C., which is not, of course, the center of American finance. It's the center of American political power, which I think indicates that this is a company that is not based on the financial acumen of the people organizing it, but it's based on the very powerful political connections that this entity has.
They brought on another partner, Devin Archer, Hunter's Yale buddy. 4 years after the firm's launch, Chris left.
Chris Hines got weary and thought that Devin and Hunter were taking too many risks and bailed out.
Or, as Archer explained in an email,
Hunter is willing to take on risk. Chris is much more risk averse.
I think it's evidence of the fact that Chris Hines, the son of a powerful political figure, John Kerry, realized how far Hunter Biden was prepared to go, and it was too much even for Chris Hines.
While Hines failed, Archer remained committed, but he'd end up convicted.
Devin Archer was at Yale when Hunter was there, and he was there on a lacrosse scholarship. He was a sort of a middle-class kid from Long Island, very good-looking, very charming. He was an Abercrombie and Fitch model.
He actually met Hunter at Yale and became friends with both him and Chris Hines. Devin Archer was involved in many of Hunter's most suspect business deals.
Devin's role was really to be the meter and greeter, to open the doors using the powerful names of his partners.
Devin Archer seems to be sort of the ringmaster of this circus that is taking place at Rosemont Seneca Partners. He's the one that handles a lot of the deals and channels a lot of the money, according to bank accounts, to Hunter Biden.
As an out-of-control booze, drug, and sex addict, Hunter needed someone he could trust to keep the business going. Archer was that man.
Devin was very close to Hunter, but he didn't share his drug problems. Devin actually had a very stable, loving marriage to a doctor and 3 little kids that he was devoted to.
While Devin was devoted to his family, Hunter was devoted to crack pipes. Kathleen reflected on her ex-husband's behavior.
I walked into the family room and found him on the couch with his headphones on. I held out the broken piece of glass. "What is this?" "A crack pipe," he answered without hesitation. He sounded as though he was telling me what time it was.
Luckily, Devin was there to rake in the bucks.
In a lot of cases, it's Devin Archer who has the relationships with these oligarchs, with these foreign businessmen that he brings to Hunter, and it's Hunter's last name that really seals the deal.
Soon Devin had a $3.6 million townhouse in Brooklyn, an 8-bedroom, $3.7 million lakefront house in Quad, Long Island, and memberships at the Hamptons' most elite clubs.
Devin Archer seemed to profit greatly from his business dealings with foreign businessmen, foreign powers, as did Hunter. Both of them were sent millions of dollars by the Chinese to their joint ventures.
Devin also masterminded a partnership with sketchy Ukraine oil company Burisma, says Senator Ron Johnson.
People really need to look at the timeline of Ukraine. In February 2014, you had the Revolution of Dignity. A couple months later, Devin Archer met with Vice President Biden in the White House. Not everybody gets to meet with the sitting vice president in the White House. That's kind of a big deal.
There's a shocking string of events where Devin Archer visits Joe Biden at the White House. Then just 6 days later, he's appointed as a board member of Burisma. Joe then travels to Ukraine as the point man for the Obama administration for that country. And then the next month, Hunter is appointed as a board member at Burisma.
His run with Biden Inc. wouldn't last.
He was convicted of securities fraud over this investment vehicle that Hunter was also involved in. Hunter was the vice chairman of this Burnham securities firm that he and Devin thought would make their fortune, their own bank, really. And that all fell apart. And Devin was charged and he was convicted.
Devin angrily texted Hunter.
"Why did your dad's administration appointees arrest me and try to put me in jail? Just curious. Why would they try to ruin my family and destroy my kids? Anyone from your family side step in and at least try to help me? I don't get it."
Devin Archer at times seems to have been the fall guy. Hunter claims that he had no knowledge of any of the business dealings with this Shu tribe that was the focus of the federal convictions. But the emails on Hunter Biden's laptop show that he was actually heavily involved in that company. It's unclear how he managed to avoid it.
But avoid it, Hunter did. Though he was apparently annoyed, Archer tried to drag him and his father into the case.
My best friend from business, Devin, has named me as a witness without telling me. In a criminal case, and my father without telling me.
Archer was ultimately sentenced to prison for a year and a day. As president, of course, Joe Biden now has the power to pardon. What does that mean for Archer?
He seems to have lost all hope that Joe Biden will pardon him because friends say that his phone calls to Hunter Biden go unanswered, text messages are not returned. Hunter has completely wiped him, and therefore the Biden family has wiped him.
Without the reporting from the New York Post and other outlets, I think there is a chance Joe Biden might have pardoned Devin Archer. I think now with the scrutiny that the New York Post has brought to bear, I think that's much less likely.
As for Hunter, when Archer's life was coming apart, he tried to comfort his pal with the assurance that all Archer's sacrifices were for a higher cause, the Bidens.
Every great family is persecuted. You are part of a great family, not a sideshow, not deserted by them even in your darkest moments. That's the way Bidens are different, and you are a Biden. It's the price of power, and the people questioning you truly have none.
Do the people question the Bidens have the power to get to the bottom of all this? We'll investigate that in episode 5. But next, Hunter the Traveling Man. He pocketed a lot more than frequent flyer miles.
If you hung in there this long, shouts out to you. I'll talk about it with y'all in the comments. I hope y'all just really dug that shit as much as I dug showing it to y'all. I appreciate everybody that come through and show love to the page, y'all.